podcast, Eye for Talent, the show where we've got an eye for talent. I'm your host, Dylan, aka DJ Cereal Sauce. I'm a YouTube content creator and producer, mostly are the two big things that I do. And joining me for the third year in a row is another YouTube content creator, another Twitch streamer, and seemingly avid podcast guest. He was on a Quad Damage podcast recently.
Just like a month ago or so.
Yeah, time flies by crazy when you're on podcasts on a monthly basis, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's like really, I'm trying to think now if this is true. That's really the only other podcast I've been invited on, I guess. But it's very different from this. They have a very cool thing going, but more like formal operation. They have like high profile guests. Sometimes I was chatting with the dev of a game called Shell Soldier, but they informed me because I told them that Dishonored was my favorite game of all time, that they had Rafael Colantonio, one of the co-directors of Dishonored, on their show, and I was impressive. Like, holy shit. I wish I had known them back then when they did that episode, because I would have loved to pick his brain about that game. But anyways, I also love that this has sort of become like a yearly sync for us to chat for whatever reason, because the vibe is different, but I like just shooting the shit.
Yeah, it's almost one of those things where, like, because it becomes increasingly more difficult for me to find people who I'm interested in enough to talk to and like have it on like a semi-regular basis and try and get timing stuff worked out with them. It's almost like, would I rather just move this to a different like channel or have a different vibe or something? Because every once in a while, like, I have some friends who play games that I really enjoy, like Overwatch, and they play the game at like a decently competitive level. I go to them and I'm like, hey, I want to just talk with you about your opinions on this game for like an hour and a half, because, you know, I consume a lot of your streams. I'm very fascinated with the way that you treat the game, essentially. And so it's like, if I'm going to just be doing that stuff on the second channel where I'm just shooting the shit with somebody, and at this point it's a little bit less about like the talent behind the person that I'm working with, it's like, yeah, you just make it whenever you want.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because and maybe I've talked about this on here before, but in the past, sorry, you might hear my dog in the background.
I know, you might hear my cat meowing through the door. He's pissed.
Oh yeah, my dog is probably, it's a similar vibe. He's not happy when he can hear me talking but can't get to me. Anyways, what I was gonna say was that way back when I like first started streaming, I did a podcast, like kind of just like a round table, like just shoot the shit about gaming topics with my friends. And I stopped doing it because it was so much work to even just get my friends together, that I definitely have like a newfound respect for people who have like real guests on their shows, because I couldn't even get like the people that I play games with every week to like hop on for an hour to talk about like Elden Ring or whatever.
Yeah, I had a friend once. This is only tangentially related to that conversation, but back when we were doing this podcast, when I was doing it with my friends, I think we were just talking about like miscellaneous things around like is it Wizards of the Coast that does Dungeons and Dragons? I don't remember.
Yeah,
we were talking about miscellaneous stuff like that, and talking about like how the pandemic was affecting their college experience and all kinds of random stuff. And my friend just goes, yeah, I've learned more skills about how to wrangle a bunch of people and get on a consistent schedule through fucking scheduling games of D&D than I ever have with like my online classmates. And it's like, that's kind of the same vibe.
No, yeah, D&D's serious business. I play in just one campaign, but our DM, who is a good lifelong friend of mine, he is like either DM for or in like many more campaigns. And I'm like, we can't even get like the five of us in the campaign together regularly. I'm like, I don't know how you do this multiple times a week. Yeah.
I don't know. People find D&D to be varying levels of importance to them in their lives, is the best way I can think about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Like,
I mean, I love it. And we've been playing for, like a decade, probably.
Oh, geez.
Sounds about right. Not the same campaign, but the same like general core group of people with a few a rotating cast of others, we'll say, have been playing together for about a decade now. And I like it, but like even doing it once a week is like exhausting. You know, it's just so you're using like so many different parts of your brain for D&D. Like You got the kind of like math and like, I don't know, just the character building side of things. And then there's like, depending on how deep you're like actually role playing, that can be a whole different ball game too.
Yeah, it's I think I've played 2 D&D campaigns in my entire life, and one of them was when I was, God, 16 or 17 probably, and I think it was like two two sessions that we did on account of we're a bunch of teenagers in high school that couldn't like reasonably consistently get around to doing that kind of thing all the time. And then I was a part of a campaign for 2 or 3 sessions with my current group of friends that I have now, where it just also kind of ended up dropping because I think people were going to college and were extremely busy, and also I didn't know shit about D&D and didn't exactly have the best like outlet or resources to figure out like how to participate in it in a way that was like engaging for me. It's one of those things where
Sure.
it kind of feels like a strategy game, but it was like if I make the wrong strategy, I'm going to get yelled at, and I don't like that.
You know, D&D I find, and I've only ever played with like the same DM, so I kind of know like how he likes to run the game. But I find that it's at its best when you have like a good. There are people who are better at breaking down like the archetypes of D&D players than me, like the min maxers and the role players, and but I find that it's at its best when you have like a good mix of sort of competing personalities. And it just seems like it would be boring if everyone played the same way.
Yeah.
It's ultimately up to the DM, I guess, how they want to run their campaign. But you know, I kind of like having some competing philosophies on how the game should be played. I think that's healthy.
Yeah, I also think it's just an interesting way to become exposed to and understanding how just how people decide to treat the game. I mean, it's to me, it's kind of just like a more exacerbated form of like you wouldn't want a group of friends to all think the same way about the same things and all
Yeah,
like the same things, because then
right.
it's like, well, I've been there, done that. What? How different is my experience going to possibly be with these people who have also been there, done that?
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I definitely had it like it's funny to even say this because when I was like in high school and like early college, I definitely had D&D filed like firmly away under like just nerd shit, which is funny because I was like I'm total nerd, you know. I was like playing video games and I don't know why D&D was like that's too much even for me. But then I just played it and I was kind of like, "Oh, this is awesome actually. I like this."
Yeah. That thing for me was Magic the Gathering, and to a much lesser extent like Warhammer as a whole. It was one of
Yeah.
those things where like 2 of my closest friends are like constantly talking about random magic related things and random Warhammer related things using a bunch of keywords and buzzwords that I have not the slightest clue about. And they were like, "Dude, you have to get into this. You would love this." And I'm like, well, I don't know what to like. This seems like a real big time commitment. You guys have been in this for over 10 years. This seems like a real big commitment. This seems like this is a lot for me to get into. And then all
Yeah.
it took was every 6 months I visit my friends in Colorado, and my friend gave me an edible for the first time because it is not legal where I live. Don't tell the cops. I went there and my friend my friend gave me a Magic the Gathering deck where basically the point is just keep putting cards on the table and eventually you will have this really big dragon to kill people. And even while absolutely blasted out of my mind, I was like, okay, I think I understand the appeal of Magic the Gathering now. And so
Yeah.
now I'm like one of those people.
Yeah, you got psyoped.
Yeah.
That's another word for what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't touched. Well, I shouldn't say I haven't touched it, but I haven't like really ever gotten into Magic the Gathering. But my DM friend is like also. That's again, I you know I don't know how he has the time and the brain space for all of this, but maybe the reality is he just doesn't. He just does it anyways.
He just makes it work somehow.
Yeah.
But let me see here. Speaking of games in general, we're gonna pivot away from all the tabletop related games that we typically or that we were just talking about to a question that I kind of wanted to ask in the last show, but there just wasn't really a good place to put it. And also, we had been there for what 3 hours and 15 minutes. I
Yeah,
think.
like 3.5 hours almost.
Yeah,
I think.
it wasn't. I really didn't want to go down this tangent if I didn't have to because it's not very important. I think this came up in conversation once during maybe a White Knuckle stream or something.
Hmm.
I don't remember at this point because again, it's been like a year and then some since it came up. But what do you personally classify as a rage game?
Oh, interesting. I feel like it's like a cop out to say like you know when you're playing it. Like just a game that has no real respect for you as a player. Because like you even think about the way that people talk about Dark Souls, not even necessarily the reality, but like the way people talk about Dark Souls having this like, you know, insurmountable difficulty hump that you have to get over and then you just get it, which isn't even really true, because Dark Souls in my mind is still, although a bit esoteric, is still designed in such a way that like you will slowly get it, versus like a rage game is more about like daring you to quit. Like it's kind of like, oh yeah, I fell, 200 meters or whatever, and I'm back at the beginning. Like, great, I'm just going to put this down forever. Or if you're an insane person, that you view it like a challenge. Like,
yeah, you're like, I will keep going.
So yeah, it's kind of, I've heard the term Faudian as well. And I think I even used that in my video about White Knuckle. And that is like based on games by Bennett Foddy, who made QWOP and most notably Getting Over It. I think, yeah, I would just put it like that. It's games that dare you to quit, basically, and rather than like daring you to continue. Like Dark Souls like gives you all the tools and is like, you can do it if you want to. Whereas a rage game in my mind is more like get out of here, unless you are like the most dedicated, unless you are the most insane. Get out of here. You don't belong here.
Yeah, I kind of view Dark Souls as like a reading game. Like,
yeah,
it's just like,
well,
like,
that's
like
true
said,
too. Yeah,
it's like read what the game is trying to tell you to do and just kind of figure it out.
Mhm.
It's some things are annoying and some things might not mesh well with your preferred way of playing the game, but they don't intentionally make these things to like make you want to quit. They're like,
yeah,
figure it out and get better at the game.
I definitely had the wrong idea about the original Dark Souls when I first played it. It was the first From Software Souls-like whatever game that I had played. It was Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls Remastered, I guess. Whatever. People,
Yeah.
They're the same thing. But so someone's going to be mad that I said that. But I just had the wrong idea about it. I think probably what had happened was that I had watched someone play Dark Souls 3. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. It's a game about rolling when the game instructs you to roll, basically. And I carried that mindset into Dark Souls 1, and Dark Souls 1 is not really about that so much as the games would go on to become about that. And so I was like fighting, I'm trying to think of like a boss that would really paint this example. Maybe like the Bell Gargoyles. Like I was fighting the first Bell Gargoyle, and I'm like, okay, he swings his sword and I roll. Great, I've got it figured out. And then the second one comes out and is like breathing fire all over the place. I'm like, wait, that doesn't really work anymore. I have to like position myself well and
use other forms of movement to avoid it.
Yeah, and then I was just falling off the roof over and over again. Anyways, long story short, like it was kind of like that moment that I realized I had to totally discard what I thought about the game and just think about it differently.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
think with rage games, there's an element of like streamer bait too. I feel like that's another that term means something different than rage game, but it's like under that same umbrella. Or I feel like people talk about horror games this way too, like where there are games that are like hallway jump scare simulators that like people don't actually play, but streamers play for like quote unquote content because it'll like make them scream and like do funny reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
But then no one actually goes and plays those games. Like, I feel like rage games are kind of like that too. There's like an element of that where like you watch someone else suffer vicariously so that you don't have to. I think I would not, for the record, I would not classify White Knuckle as a rage game. Although I think it takes some inspiration. I think there's like a non-zero amount of rage game like DNA in there, but it's not like the number one way I would describe that game.
Yeah, it wasn't built from the ground up to be a rage game. It was built from the ground up to be one of the other miscellaneous things that are very interesting and cool about the game and and whatnot.
Yeah, it's such an awesome game. It just had a big update too. I really not only need to go back and just play I believe they called it the anniversary update, which it kind of just added a whole bunch of stuff across the game, I believe. Not like a huge new area or anything, but they just kind of sprinkled a bunch of new shit into the game and said, have fun. But I really would like to. There was a big update called the Abyss, which is like by far the most insane and difficult area that has been added to the game yet, and I haven't made a video on that either. So I kind of want to go back and like touch on what's new about the game. I got a lot on my plate though. It's like I feel like the pile of videos that I want to make keeps growing taller, and then I don't make any of them, or I haven't for a while.
Yeah.
You may as well have introduced me as a former YouTuber. I don't think I've made a main channel video in like 6 months.
That'd be real unfortunate for people if bring you on the show year 4 and I'm like former YouTube content creator and they're like, what happened?
Yeah. Nah, nothing. No one thing happened, and I am working on videos again finally. But yeah, life has just been crazy. The aforementioned dog being part of it. The dog has been new to my life as of the last couple months. So that's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah, I think I maybe, I mean, because I've never really played a rage game before, I might be coming at this from the wrong angle, but one of the ways that I kind of picture a rage game in my mind is most people, when they design a game, when we're designing the controls for the game, it's designed in a way that is supposed to be easy to understand what you are doing with your buttons when you press them. And then it's a matter of how does that interact with game mechanics, and how do you use those buttons to utilize movement tech, or just I don't know, using your movement efficiently in a way to achieve whatever the game wants you to do. Whereas a rage game is one of those things where it's like you could press the same button twice and it feels like you get wildly different results, specifically for the express purpose of being annoying and unintuitive, I guess.
Yeah. They kind of inhabit like a weird separate reality where things just work in a way that is different from what you would expect. Like you have to learn almost an entirely new, completely foreign control scheme to even like interface with them, let alone, succeed and be good at them. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think it does, like, unorthodox control schemes are like maybe not like an essential piece of the equation, but like definitely they're a big part of that genre. I think the funniest thing, like, that is that you asked me about this when I would say I'm absolutely not a rage game guy. I definitely they're interesting to talk about, but yeah, it's not the type of thing that I seek out to play. I do think, particularly Getting Over It, which notoriously is a game that I've yet to complete still. I promised that I would beat that on stream probably 4 years ago, and I still haven't done it. But I think there is a lot of interesting design in that game. I think that a lot of games are copying Getting Over It without, like, translating what actually makes that game cool and unique, though, without understanding it. Actually, quite a lot like Dark Souls in that way, often copied, but rarely successfully.
Yeah, like you said, kind of getting the wrong idea of what makes it what makes it as interesting of a title as it is. Because I feel like Getting Over It is one of those things that kind of encompasses what I was just talking about, where it's really annoying, unintuitive ways of moving around that aren't just like walking your character. But then, like, the real kick in the pants is the fact that there's just this. Does the guy have a British accent? I don't remember. There's just this dude saying.
I think he's Australian.
Things. Oh,
Bennett Foddy, because I believe that's just him, like the creator of the game, narrating it. But no, yeah, you're forgiven. As an American to another American, you're forgiven for not picking up the correct accent.
Yeah, my ignorance comes from the fact that I don't think I've mentioned this to you, because this wouldn't naturally come up in conversation ever, because it's not related to anything that we ever talk about. But sometimes in my sleep, I have these like vivid dreams about like just what's happening in my regular life. And people will try to talk to me in those dreams. And very routinely, I will respond back to those people in either a British Australian accent hybrid or a Scottish accent, despite the fact that that's very obviously not my native accent. So
yeah. Okay, that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's. I think it's like caught maybe 2 or 3 of my friends off guard, but all that's to say is because I meld the Australian and the British together on a word by word basis, I'm especially not necessarily the greatest person to denote what accent that guy has off of only listening to a combined total of like 30 seconds of his voice ever.
No, and I want to be clear too that I don't think I got that from the accent. I'm pretty sure he had a new game out like last year or something, and I'm pretty sure I just looked it up because I was like, okay, I need to know.
I feel like this is just too interesting for me not to figure it out.
Wait, I want to, before I put my foot in my mouth about this, there was another interesting fact that I learned about Bennett Foddy that I want to make sure I get right.
So I'm going to fact check his
yeah,
thing.
okay. Yeah, he is Australian for the record.
All right. Nice.
But apparently he was the bassist of the band Cut Copy for a while. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that band. They're kind of like a indie rock with like electronic synthwave
what the hell?
notes to them. But
No,
apparently
I've
he was the
definitely heard of these
bassist of
guys.
that band. And they're fairly well known. And I had never known, former now, I believe the band is still together and he is no longer in it.
Mhm.
But I had heard of them before, and I had also heard of Bennett Foddy before, but I never knew that he was apparently in that band, which feels like such a random fact.
Yeah, it's like you have the knowledge base of both ends of the bridge, but the bridge wasn't connected for you yet.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, yeah, so strange. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Is it strange? It's strange to me because it was like two very different worlds colliding in my brain.
Yeah.
But I guess it's not that weird that like a sort of quirky creative guy also had another like quirky creative passion in his life.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it's just strange because you see people hobby jump all the time. Like, YouTubers going from doing YouTube stuff to not going from, but like adding onto their plate, like being musicians and being artists and whatever.
Yeah.
It's just such a strange thing to be like, I'm a bassist in an Australian pop band as Google would describe them. And then I went on to create rage games that would be wildly successful on the internet. Depending on who you ask, more wildly successful than the band that he belonged to.
Yeah, and it's funny too that like in my mind, because I think about like QWOP, I remember playing that like on a browser in like middle school,
Yeah.
So it's funny to think that his time in that band actually predates that game because that game feels like an ancient artifact.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been around forever. Whereas like a band that formed in 2001 and kind of had their most successful era in like the late 2000s, early 2010s doesn't feel that old to me. But that's like concurrent with when he was making those games, which blows my mind because I don't know. As soon as you involve the internet in anything, everything is so new, like since the 2000s basically. But it really wasn't that long ago. I mean, I remember, I don't know about you, but like I remember having like dial-up internet and stuff like that when I was a kid. And it's just, it's crazy to think about how much things have changed since then.
Yeah. I think it's also just one of those things where because the internet makes you so hyper aware of like, of different eras in time and like the, early 2000s, 2010s going into the 2020s where people are like making you hyper aware of exactly what was going on around that time. It almost feels like it's almost more recent than it actually is. And so when you stop and look at it, you realize, I mean, yeah, it's been over 10 years since QWOP was a thing in the mainstream media. And then you go back an additional 15 years and it's like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
this is like way, way older than that. It's not old, but it's just comparatively kind of absurd to look at.
It's just like, hyperspeed memetics, right? Like it's a guy can make like a stupid little game, like QWOP, and then like everyone in my middle school could be playing it 3 days later,
Yeah.
Like but only on the internet can that happen, right? Yeah. It's wild to think about. I don't know why Bennett Foddy got me down this rabbit hole. I must say you've thrown me for a loop here. I didn't expect to start this off by talking about Bennett Foddy, but you hit me with an interesting question. I just happen to have an interesting fact about the guy.
It's one of those things where I do tend to notice that I like it must just be something about the random little tidbits of information that I bring to people where I always just pull stuff out of them that they didn't think that they knew or had. Like this isn't nearly as relevant to like a podcast or anything, but like the clients that I work with at my job, very routinely they'll come into a meeting and they'll be like, "We have one question we'd like to discuss with you about this thing." And then I give them like an over explained, over detailed breakdown of whatever they're needing to know. And then it's like, all right, cool, that's the end of the meeting. And then they're like, sorry, we have 8 more questions for you that stemmed off of some tangent that you said in the thing you explained to us. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yep. Yeah, that's relatable as someone who used to work in the field of architecture. That it sounds like a lot of the client meetings I had where I believe my boss, I'm going to butcher what he said, but it was something along the lines of like 50% of architecture is just like explaining architecture to people. Like it's like helping, because we had a lot of clients, especially like I have some friends working in the field who are at firms that work for, developers that build dozens of buildings a year, basically, and so they've been through it before. But the firm that I worked for, like 90% of our work was first time developers, or people who had a business, like a brick and mortar business, and wanted to revamp it. And so a lot of them, they were working with an architect for the first and only time in their life. So yeah, what was like a day for us of explaining a floor plan or a certain design to them would spawn, the like day one questions of like, okay, what does this mean? Like, what does this word mean? What is an RCP? It's like, okay, that's a reflected ceiling plan. Next question.
Yeah. Oh,
but yeah,
man.
you forget that you learn how to speak your own language, and then you have to kind of break it down piecemeal.
Yeah. I think to relate that back to the whole like video gamey thing, I was watching some video on Warhammer, which I don't typically do because I don't pay enough attention to the series, but I was like making dinner and I was like, well, okay, Chaos God's cool. I want to learn about these. And one of the quotes he said in the video that I thought was really funny is he was like, explaining all this information to people who are new is a very interesting subject. And I don't advise that you go and start trying to Google everything I'm telling you about, because if you find one Wikipedia article, every third sentence is going to have a new proper noun for you to have to click on and understand all of what that means before you can come back to the original thing you were searching for and finally get on with whatever you were trying to learn about.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, Warhammer is crazy. We started off by talking about D&D. Warhammer is a whole thing that I haven't I enjoy some of the games. I played like Dark Tide, stuff like that, but I've never gotten like deep into Warhammer. But that is definitely my impression of what it's like is, an endless well of just more reading and more like rabbit holes and
Oh, exactly. One of the most fun things about doing revisit videos with people is that shortly before the recording happens, I usually go back to the episode and just re-listen to stuff just to see if there's like, stuff that I heard about that I then followed up with them about midway through, or like, midway through the year, or just kind of continuing the conversation about stuff. In this case, it's happened a couple times, as you've seen in Discord DMs.
Yep.
But based on the discussion we had last time of you essentially trying to get a better idea of why people latch on to video game music so heavily, and kind of based on the information that you took from that conversation, I was curious if you have any like strong opinions or hot takes regarding like video games or their respective music.
Interesting. Well, it's funny that you are choosing to revisit this topic, because I wouldn't say that my opinion has necessarily changed, but I definitely thought about it a lot more. And we can talk more about this later, but I'm actually working on a video that relates to this.
Ooh,
but
hell yeah.
It made me do a little bit of like soul searching, because in my mind, I'm like, well, there's real music and there's video game music. But then I think back and I'm like, how did I get into music? And, some of it's borrowing CDs from my dad or whatever. But the way I got into like more like punk and alternative music was through playing games like Tony Hawk or like SSX. Mm-hmm. And those had, pretty big licensed soundtracks that you don't really see anymore, because I believe part of the reason is just licensing costs have gone way up. And the other reason is because viral video game marketing is so reliant on streamers and YouTubers, and they pretty much just can't play licensed music.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, it's a big shame to me that there is like this part of me as like, you know, big music fan, sort of deep well of like musical knowledge that I feel like I can't really share on my stream. And so this video that I wanted to make is actually, as it relates to Ultra Kill, what I wanted to do was most of the level titles in that game, along with some other things like some of the weapons, some of the enemies, are actually musical references. And I've picked up on most of them because I have like, I don't know, I'd say like 40 to 50% overlap in music taste with Akita. He likes some weird way out there shit that I like was not familiar with, or was familiar with but had decided was not for me, but that I at least like was aware of.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to do for a video was like go through them one by one and just like unpack them, explain like what the music is, like who made it essentially, why it might be referenced in Ultra Kill, and then like what type of person might enjoy checking that music out. It's a little different than listening to a licensed soundtrack and being like, I like this, I don't like that. But I thought that there might be some value in someone who likes Ultra Kill, maybe likes the music of Ultra Kill, forming a deeper understanding of the like, I say real, again, real music is such a dumb way to put it because obviously music that soundtracks video games is real. But the different pieces of music that have inspired the game, and that maybe that for someone could be a gateway into checking out more alternative experimental music or whatever. So that actually would probably be my next video. I don't know if that's like a hot take.
It is interesting though.
It is, I think, maybe an interesting perspective that not everyone holds on music as it pertains to video games, and then especially the music, quote unquote, of Ultra Kill, where a lot of people would think of the, you know, obviously fantastic soundtrack, but there's actually a lot deeper of a well of like, you know, musicality to Ultra Kill that I think has been unexplored by a lot of people who are really into the game. So that was my goal, was to talk about that. And it's so funny because the first video I released this year, which you might be like, you haven't released a video this year. You're right. So, but the first video I was going to record and release this year was going to be an update video where I was going to say, no more Ultra Kill. Not on my main channel, at least. It's all going to the second channel. But then I ended up not having time, or I was sick for a bunch of the first like few months of the year. I got the flu really bad and it sucked.
Brutal.
Whatever. I wasn't able to record it because I lost my voice, basically. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, I kind of have some ideas for Ultra Kill. So it's funny that like now I'm kind of like, I really wanted to distance myself from that game on my main channel, but I think what I've settled on is like, if I feel like I have something interesting to say about the game that I feel maybe not that only I can say, but that I feel like I can lend a unique perspective to, then why stop myself, right? So, and then that will probably be my only main channel Ultra Kill video for the year. But there you go. That's hopefully my next video coming up on that channel. And it actually is relevant to video game music, funny enough.
No, that is actually...
Or video games and music as they relate.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's actually a very interesting way to look at it, because like we're going to get into a question later about kind of trying to dissect like what exactly you think your channel is at this point, because it's very obviously changed from the very first time that we talked. And so if that is still applicable to Ultra Kill, it's still applicable to Ultra Kill, I guess. I don't know. That's just how it goes. But it did actually... No, this is...
I was just going to say, I view it as like a video about music that just happens to like use Ultra Kill as like an inroad for people to watch it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And obviously like being that there's some baggage with me releasing an Ultra Kill video, that like that is to some degree what people are expecting from me. But that hopefully I can use that and spin it into like, hey, maybe you learned something. Maybe you discovered some music or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The central focus is not Ultra Kill. It just happens to sort of be the foundation with which to build off the overarching idea.
Yeah. I guess maybe that is kind of my hot take, is just that like people who find themselves like, just to use Ultra Kill as an example, just be like listening to the Ultra Kill soundtrack and being like, this is the best music ever made. Like, my opinion is that the people who make music for games are all musicians. They're music fans. They're, studied in music in some way. If you enjoy that music, go seek out the things that inspired it, and just try to deepen your musical knowledge. I just have met so many people that have pigeonholed themselves into like the only music that they listen to being video game soundtracks. And if that's just what you enjoy, then fine. But from where I'm sitting, I just find it hard to believe that there wouldn't be anything else out there that you could, kind of latch on to, especially when, all of that stuff was not made in a vacuum. It was made by people who consume music and are big fans of music. And so it seems like maybe that's not a hot take, but I do think there's a lot of people who maybe need to hear that, like to broaden your horizons a little bit. That's my advice, at least, as someone who is just like a big overall music fan.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that we sort of landed on last time is that it's easier for people to pigeonhole themselves into it because people are like, I already enjoy this form of media that I consume a lot. And so therefore a lot of what I'm listening to from a musical standpoint is from that game. And so I think a video like that would be a good way to get them into understanding, I guess, how to find that kind of stuff. Because a lot of people, I think, if they don't know a lot about genres, if they don't know a lot of the, if they don't know like what differentiates different genres from each other and whatnot, it might be difficult for them to know what they're looking for to have it just to have it elicit a sort of a similar response as what they're getting from video game music. They don't exactly have like a window to find that kind of thing, especially if they're not entirely sure like the best, most time efficient ways to Google and find this sort of stuff without feeling like you're wasting your time.
Yeah, no, totally.
But
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, but
and you're right. It's probably, for some people, it's not like an actual feeling of like, well, I just don't think music outside of video game soundtracks has anything to offer me. It's probably just I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that stuff is kind of baked into Ultra Kill, even if it maybe caters more to the person who's coming to the game like already as like a music fan, to see something like Godspeed You, Black Emperor, or Swans like referenced in the game.
Yeah.
Be it like 5% of the player base or whatever, like those people are probably like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Versus like someone who's booting up 7.4 and is like, oh, Antennas to Heaven, that's a cool name anyways. And just proceeding to like, yeah, I don't know how you then connect the dots that is like a reference to some music that you may or may not be interested in. But
yeah, to some point it's just like a matter of like, how willing are you to go out and find the knowledge about it? Most games have a local fandom wiki type thing that they can use to find it, or people like you and I who are a little bit more knowledgeable on things like this can give them additional information, just to literally open their eyes to what they can find, what references mean, what things sound like. You name drop something somebody's never heard of before, and they're like, I don't know what the hell that is. I didn't know what cut copy was. I'm going to Google it. I'm going to go listen to them later. Maybe you provide that window for people to begin their own journey of just exploring stuff and seeing what interests them.
Yeah. And the goal has always, I don't know, I shouldn't say always, but I've always sort of lamented that my stream couldn't be a place like that. The thing is, some people do just like boot up Spotify and just play licensed music on their stream. I don't know why. I just like, for me, I've always come from the perspective of like, the stream is one thing, but I want to, with minimal effort, be able to take that and then use it to like make a YouTube video.
Yeah.
And if I'm having to like strip out copyrighted music and stuff, it's like, it's annoying. And what some people will do is they'll put it to like a separate track that only gets broadcast live and doesn't go to the VOD. But at some point I'm like, is it even really worth it? Like I can just play, non-copyright stuff in the background.
Yeah. You already have plenty of stuff that you can use that doesn't require you to do that.
But yeah, the thing that sucks about that is just that I feel like it's like a whole like part of me that I can't share on my stream because it's hard to incorporate that in a way that doesn't come with a copyright minefield. So I've sort of settled on just like talking about it, like when something pops into my mind. But then it's kind of like people need to, get over the hump of just being like, oh, that sounds interesting to me. I guess I have to do all my own work to check that out. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that this video could be something that bridges that gap for some people.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
Yeah, I think it's just an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic, and it actually reminds me of something that I'm only just now realizing I might decide to make a video on, but I'm not exactly sure how to execute it yet. I literally just uploaded my Layer 8 video today,
cool.
And at the very end of the video, I was talking about, basically in the outro recap sort of thing, I was talking about how Layer 8 using a lot of acoustic drums makes the genre feel like it's a bit more, or it makes the general soundtrack feel more mature, which is a weird thing to say because it is video game music. Or like it's weird because it's weird to say music has a maturity taste to it, but also because there are still a lot of people who will denigrate music as soon as they hear that it is from a video game. So I'd almost be interested in examining like what is it about video game music exactly that kind of gives people that weird feeling about it? Is it solely the fact that it's tied to a video game? Is it the characters, like the sound characteristic of it? Because obviously when video game music first hit the spotlight, it was much less advanced than it is now, and much less advanced than actual real music for the sake of music.
Substantially.
Yeah. So it's like that's something I would consider investing some time into trying to build out.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't necessarily picked out just what you pointed out as being. I've only really listened to the soundtrack of Fraud in isolation, so I haven't done like a full like Act 2 or I guess Act 3 at this point, like soundtrack listen through, or even just like the whole game to like really feel that like development. It definitely feels like more mature. I can echo that, but I don't know that until you said it just now, I could have put my finger on why. What I think is cool is that the soundtrack release for this latest update feels like a pretty complete album, like that you could put on for someone and that they might enjoy without ever even being like, is this from a video game?
Yeah.
Because the tracks they have like movements to them. They kind of flow together nicely. And they don't need to do that just to be compelling soundtracks for the game. Like I do believe that this soundtrack there was a goal to make it feel like a cohesive piece of art outside of the game, and I respect that.
Yeah.
As for why people might treat it differently, I guess on the flip side of the person who only listens to video game music because they have played the game and like the characters and associate the sounds with moments that they enjoyed in the game, that they're on the flip side is a person who is being recommended some music that comes from a video game that they have no connection to, and it's just like, why would I listen to this? I haven't played that game. I think it may just be that simple. I think there's some video game music that has definitely transcended that, though. Like one that comes to mind is the Fury soundtrack. I think some of the most popular songs, like the Toxic Avenger songs, especially from that soundtrack, are like, I mean, they got to be more popular than the game itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's almost no way those songs are not known and listened to by more people than have played the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is cool. I mean, the game is fantastic, but like the music is also amazing, and that is like my go-to example of like a video game soundtrack that has almost certainly transcended the game that it comes from. And I feel like there's probably very few examples of that, where the music is arguably more popular than the game itself, without going into like licensed music, Like even Mario music, super popular, but like almost everyone associates it with Mario, right? Like they're like, oh, I played, even if it was 30 years ago, I played Mario. I remember the music.
Yeah, like it's again one of those things where there's very little music that is transcending beyond the point of the game, where a lot of people who are listening to it don't know that it comes from Fury.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if it's necessarily a lot of people, but I do think that there's like an element of there are definitely more people who have heard the music of that game than have played the music of that game. I think
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm a culprit of this, but I think like YouTube video essays are a big reason, honestly. Like they just heard some music that they liked in the background of something and were like, "Ooh, is this? I like that."
Yeah, it's talking about music is always such a funny thing to me because one, the thing you just mentioned of people not exactly having a connection to a game at all in any way, and trying to get them to have like a reasonable opinion on the music from a game that they've never played before is kind of a weird situation that I find myself in because people so many times will recommend songs from games I've heard of, or they'll recommend soundtracks from games I've heard of but have never played. And I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, I didn't naturally stumble upon this game and decide to want to make a video on it. It suddenly feels a little more cumbersome for me to for me to go
Oh,
like
sure.
it's
Yeah,
like
no, that's fair.
do I want to go buy the game so that I can what if I don't like playing the game, and what if the like I don't necessarily want to listen to the music in isolation outside of the context of the game, because what if it was made with the context in mind and then it gets reshaped in a weird
Right.
way. um so yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's one of those
Especially for
things.
the type of videos that you do, I can understand like wanting to approach that more organically. Just be like, I played this game because I thought it looked cool and I just happened to really like the music and have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
also
it's interesting.
goodness, excuse me. Another thing that you were mentioning, the whole copyright music problem on videos and
Mm.
streams and whatnot. And like I've talked about it way too many times with everybody that I've been on this show with. But like that's kind of one of the funniest things about using my own using my own music in the interim parts between when I'm doing stuff on analysis on other game soundtracks is because I have actually legitimately had a couple of people who will see that I put a little timestamp or a little graphic that comes down like showing the name of the song, and they clearly didn't read the part underneath it where I state who made it, which was me. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I really enjoyed this." And I was like, "You can find it here, but I don't even make it a point that it's like my music. I'm just going to let them organically figure it out themselves." But as a result of that, it means that so like the second channel that I have, I made a video a couple months ago basically diagramming out miscellaneous reasons why people find it really difficult to get into new hobbies or pick up new skills. And throughout
Mhm.
the entirety of that video, I was using like one of my own songs that I thought would be pretty good for background music. I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is dope." And then I uploaded the video and was just kind of checking it over the course of a few hours, couple days. And then randomly YouTube was like, "By the way, you've been copyrighted for this song." And I was like, God damn it, this sucks. So I had to go into my regular artist account and paste the video link
Oh
in
no.
and literally uncopyright my own video using my own music.
Yeah, I've had some like people who make music offer for me to use their music in like my videos or my stream. And sometimes I will, but there have been times where I've refused because I just didn't want to go through that song and dance every time. Like, hey, can you whitelist my video? Like, I don't know. It's such a shame that that's just how it works because I've heard way too many stories like that of people who make their own music, and because it's on like a one of those like TuneCore or whatever, one of those services,
Yeah.
that it just automatically gets copyright struck, which is just so annoying. Like there has to be a better way than that.
Yeah. I just find it frustrating that a lot of those places, at least the ones that I've used, they don't make it intuitive to go and figure out how you can whitelist content or like videos. But they also
Yeah.
just don't have like a thing, because it would be awesome if I was just like, "Hey, these guys, if you see a YouTube video from this person that has any of my music, that's fine. I have given them the ability to use it." The only time that I can think of where it's ever been possible to have that happen was, as I mentioned at one point, I was trying to make music for a game that a friend of mine was going to be working on. And he was
Mhm.
like, "I'll draft up the copyright paperwork." And I was like, "What the fuck? This is not big enough of a project for me to find it worth it to do that. If you can figure it out, cool. That sounds like a
Yeah.
nightmare."
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like, as sort of to bring this back a little bit to video game music. That is why I have defaulted to actually listening to a lot more video game music and then using it ultimately in my videos, because you get like pleasant music, well-made music that, people associate with certain games or whatever. I get comments. I have now played the game, but I haven't finished it. A song from Rain World in a video, and if you know anything about that game, it's insane. And the fans of the game are, in a positive way, insane. They're just ravenous about the game. I get comments on that, like almost all of the comments I get on that video to this day are like, "Yo, Rain World music." Nothing about the actual content of the video. It's just people stoked that I used Rain World music. So it has like inherent benefits like that, but also that I just am almost never worried about copyright issues because people want you to play their games and not have to jump through a million hoops. So except Nintendo. Fuck Nintendo.
Yeah, fuck Nintendo. Yeah, it's I'm definitely one of those culprits who will watch a video about something completely unrelated, and I'll be watching a Team Fortress 2 video, and they'll have like a 30-second clip from a Risk of Rain track, and I'm like, yo, I recognize that, and I don't say anything, but I'm like, surely there have to be like thousands of people who hear that and are like, yes, this is a big deal.
Yeah, yeah. With something like Risk of Rain, I find it especially funny because it's like that's like a super popular game.
Yeah.
Rain World at this point is pretty popular too, but I understand that I don't know, that fan base is very hardcore about those games, which is cool. Again, this is not a negative thing. Yeah. I'd so much rather people comment stuff like that than the classic of like, I obviously didn't watch the video, but I have a bone to pick with you anyways, like type guy. Uh-huh. Which I am still dealing with on multiple videos of mine. I think I'm having a memory as I bring this up that we talked about this last time, where I had made some like a Ultra Kill challenge run video where I beat the game with every weapon class like individually. Yeah.
And people had a bone to pick with the title of the video and the premise.
Yeah, I could just break it down exactly. I can just tell you what I titled it. It was, I beat Ultra Kill with every weapon, yes, even the bad ones. Which, like, I'll admit, I knew it was like a little bit of rage bait. But it's funny because like the first 30 seconds of the video are me just going like, yeah, obviously I don't think these weapons are bad, but within the context of this challenge, they were really annoying.
Yeah. But
then like half the comments on that video are people who so clearly didn't even watch the first 30 seconds that are like, how dare you?
Yeah, I'll admit there's like little things that I'll put in sometimes just to like see if I can catch somebody not watching the full video. And it's not quite to that, like, I shouldn't say to that degree, because I don't think you made that title with the intention that people were going to click and have a bone to pick with you before watching the first 30 seconds. But like,
well, I was hoping they would click, but I was hoping they would also at least watch the first like 30 seconds where I explain why the video's titled.
Yeah, which is not that hard of an ask, I think.
No.
But I'll sometimes do little things like that. Like, I guess in the case of the video that I just made, it was like the title of the video, the tone of everything is talking exclusively about layer 8. There's like a 2-minute 30-second like smash cut of just funny things happening in that layer. That seems like that's the point of the whole video. But because a lot of other music came out other than that after I made layer 7, but before I made that, I was like, I need to put this stuff in here first. So I'm like doing all this talking about layer 8 and doing the smash cut and doing all these funny things. And then the first thing that people see when I open the first door to talk about the first song is the white and black palace of 7S. And I was like, I was like, we should probably hold on and back up for a second, because you were under the impression this is a layer 8 video, yada, 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 explaining everything. So it's like seeing if I can catch people in those first couple of minutes for them to be like, see if they didn't actually pay full attention.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, I kind of do. I mean, I do less of like the, I'm really, maybe I'm just stupid, but most of the time I am not trying to rage bait. And every time I have rage baited, it has been completely like, I don't want to say inadvertent, but like the reaction to said rage bait was like so much more extreme than I expected.
Yeah.
Like it's wild how little it takes to get people mad sometimes. But what I do a lot more of is like including random Easter eggs in the video for the people that are really watching to be like, hey, I saw that.
Yeah.
I always find that stuff kind of fun, especially since anymore I make pretty long videos. Like, you know, throwing something in at like an hour 15 that like one person will catch kind of just tickles me for some reason.
Yeah, it's yeah, I find that when those kinds of things happen in my video, this isn't frequent, but every once in a while, some of these things might happen as like an accident, like something really cool will happen that lines up with the music or something um I remember at some point during the layer video I was talking about like the calm portion of the shadowing circle, and
Mhm.
literally as that calm portion was intended to be played as part of the video was when I was walking through a part of 8.3 with no enemies. So it was just like perfect to like splice that in there and then have it immediately
Yeah.
flip as soon as I ran back into more enemies. Um, but yeah, it's always fun for it's one of those things where you're so intently aware of everything that you do that you're like, I hope at least one person sees this and has something to say about it because I think that would be funny.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of things that I do are inspired like completely and wholly by me just being like, what can I do right now that will like entertain me? When I'm like deep in a long edit and I'm just like, oh man, I'm getting bored. Like I'm gonna just like cook up this random, like I can't remember if last year when we chatted if it was before or after my Doom video,
I think
but
it was right
like
before
halfway into that, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds right. Halfway into that video, I did a like call to action to subscribe that was designed as a Doom Eternal tutorial pop up.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
uh, and it was just like an idea that popped into my head while I was editing, and I went into Photoshop and I painstakingly created the tutorial pop-up window, and I made it look exactly like a Doom Eternal pop. And I was like so proud of it. But as I was doing it, I was like, this is way more effort than needs to go into this. But it kept me, engaged in what I was doing. So
Yeah. In a way, it kind of reminds me of, I guess, another callback to the last episode that we did. It kind of reminds me of like almost what I would see in like an Annie Austin sponsor thing, where it's like I'm watching the video, he's about to say something really interesting. What do you mean I'm watching a sponsor? Okay, I guess I'm here
yeah,
now. Like,
yeah. No, he does a great job with his sponsor reads. I tend to just like watch them and then they're over and I'm like, I guess I watched the whole sponsor read and I didn't even click ahead. So he must be doing something, right?
yeah. But yeah, we've been doing a lot of talking about Ultra Kill, more than I expected to. So I don't know
No,
how
it's fine.
long
I
this
don't
will.
mind actually. I got into like a headspace where I was just like, especially when I was most actively making Ultra Kill content. I don't know. Okay, this is gonna be like a little bit of a tangent. There's a guy on like, I'm not on TikTok, but I've seen these videos from elsewhere. There's a guy who is like the guy who eats every fruit. And like that is
What the
his
fuck?
username.
Okay.
It's like I've eaten every fruit or whatever. And there's clips of him like talking to his chat. And there's people that are like, have you eaten a durian? And he's like, yeah, bro, I've eaten a durian. I've eaten every fruit. It's in the name. Like it's someone like, have you ever eaten a pineapple? And he's like, yeah, bro, I've eaten a lot of pineapple. I eat every fruit.
It's in the name.
Like that was how I was starting to feel about like discussing Ultra Kill. It's like it was just like the third person this week that's like, what do you think the P3 boss is going to be? It's like, I don't know, man. What do you think it's going to be? Like, and so I got to a place where, well, and especially because there was a longer time between updates, I got to a place where I was just like, man, I could go another day without like talking about Ultra Kill.
Yeah, what's
and
another
I would
day
never
after
look
2
back.
years?
Yeah. But then the update dropped and like there was all this new stuff to discuss. And I was like, oh, this actually can be really enjoyable when you're not just answering the same like questions and like tired debates over and over again.
Like,
so I'm kind of like, I'm kind of back in at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I beat Ultra Kill with every class of weapon. It's in the title.
Yeah, that was by no means me being like, I know you're sick of talking about Ultra Kill. It was more like, it's been 2 questions. And Ultra Kill has come up more than I thought it was going to be, because
yeah, it's an important game to both of us. I think like it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm just so much more fascinated in like everything else that you've been planning on doing and everything that you have been doing. But on the topic of the one Ultra Kill question I actually have is that, of course, Ultra Kill Layer 8 would come out around the time that we were planning on doing this whole thing anyways. So I'm just like, I watched your video on you playing through the game. I forget if there was like a synopsis at the end of it all, but I'm just curious like what your sort of concrete or more concrete ideas are on the level now that you've gotten past the first couple of replays of it.
Yeah, well, so I was going to make a video on this, and it was supposed to come right after the one that I've already made.
Mm-hmm.
And I got sidetracked. Mainly it was the dog. Wife and I, family member of mine had to rehome their dog, and we're both dog people, but we haven't had a dog in a few years. So we were like, sure, we'll take him. And it's been a lot of work, as like having a new dog is, but it's also been really enjoyable. It has unfortunately eaten into my time to like make YouTube videos. But now that life is like settling down again, I'm hoping to like kind of just cook through these plans that I've had, including the type of thing you're talking about, which is just like a breakdown of like how I've like really synthesized how I feel about Fraud as a layer. Now that I've played through it a few times, P-ranked it, whatever. I did that, of course, like a month ago, but the video hasn't been made for whatever reason. It's fine. It's fine.
Of the dog.
Neither here nor there. Because of the dog. Yeah, I blame the dog. Dog ate my homework. Yeah, classic. But yeah, I really like it. I mean, it's most of my complaints are like along the lines of like, my steak is too juicy. Like, it's just like, it's just a lot, right? Like 8.3, I think could be half the length and it would be as good. I'm not like mad that it's as long as it is, but I'm just like, that's a lot of level.
Yeah.
And I don't really like the boss, but the 8.4 boss, that is. I like the
Mirror Reaper.
The powers.
And the powers, yeah.
I don't really like the Mirror Reaper either.
Yeah,
but
it's
the Mirror Reaper is such a kind of like joke that I don't care that I don't like it.
Yeah.
As much as care at least a little bit that I don't really like Gary on. Yeah. But I think for me, I might feel a little more like that was a real like big issue had I not enjoyed the powers fight so much.
Yeah.
I feel like that is as good as any other layers like climax boss. So I'm not so mad that I don't love Gary on or that I don't love the Mirror Reaper. So yeah, I'm just like, and then otherwise I'm just kind of like amazed that they pulled it off. Like with all I knew it was going to be crazy, but I think it was way crazier than I expected.
Yeah, I remember in my video, so in my Layer 7 video, I made the very foolish mistake of going, well, Greed came out here, and the rest of Act 2 came out here. So I'm not going to wait for a year to do all of Act 3 because Layer 7 just dropped. And everyone was like, you stupid fucking idiot. What do you mean only a year? And literally in the video, I was like, do you think I expected that they had to rewrite the code for the game from the ground up? Who do you think I am? You think I have inside knowledge?
This is a losing battle. This is a losing battle because I talked about this in a video too, and like everyone told me I was wrong because I was like they're rewriting the code for whatever they're like, whatever they're doing with Fraud to just make sure that the code can handle it. By the way, that theoretical code rewrite, I have learned recently they did rewrite the enemy code, but I'm gonna butcher this, and I apologize because I'm about to like be annoying about the exact kind of person who would do this type of thing. But essentially, the code rework that everyone was talking about, like reworking everything into like behavior trees or whatever, I believe what happened is they ended up not doing that, and they rewrote the code in a different way. So even the thing that people thought was happening and told me over and over again was happening didn't end up really happening.
Yeah.
Anyways, I talked about this in a video once. I was like, when the Ultra revamp came out, a big part of the reason why it took so long for that to come out, and then subsequently why it took so long for Fraud to come out, was because of that code rewrite. And a bunch of people told me that like it was because they were going to have 18 billion enemies on screen, or they were going to introduce an enemy that did this and that, all this batshit stuff. And that didn't really come true, but I will say they went crazier with Fraud than I thought they would. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it for anybody who tunes into the show and is not watching and has not played Fraud yet. Although I guess I might even be putting Fraud gameplay in the background of this. So that's, I guess, Fraud spoiling.
Yeah, sure.
They're an hour in and they're like, I've been spoiled on Fraud. And I'm like, have you been watching the video? Probably not, but that's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, it was nice to finally see what they actually were cooking without like the 8 millionth. Like Hakita said this, and then it was just something that Hikita didn't say about what was coming to the game.
Yeah.
Because that I entertained that way too many times as well, of like people who thought they had insider info but were just wrong.
Yeah. They like misread the message.
Yeah, or like what the latest thing has been, I saw at least a few messages that got sent in my Discord or in other like spaces relating to the game that were just fabricated. Like they were just not real messages that were like screenshots with Akita's name and like avatar over them that were just not real. So that was wild.
It's awesome when the internet
But-
turns to that point. After this is what 2 years without an update does to the Ultra Kill community. And this is not me telling Hikita to put them out
No.
faster. This is me telling them.
No,
to
take slower if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not kidding. I think you know, we can teach some kids some patience here.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing about Layer 8 to me is the fact that it all comes back to the stupid fucking YouTube content stuff that I do. But my friend joined me in the Layer 7 video, and at some point when talking about The World Looks Red, she was like, "This song is kick ass. Hikita, can you please make levels that are just a little bit longer so that I can hear the full song play?" And now here we are.
Yeah. Well, and then the long level in question has like 4 soundtracks, so
Yeah.
something like that. I can't remember
It's functionally
exactly
3,
how many.
but it
is,
might
so.
as well be 4 for the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
little bit, or maybe
Right.
5 or 6 depending on. No, yeah, it would. Let me think. It doesn't matter. It's not important.
Starts with a King Crimson riff. That's a little sneak preview of my video.
Ooh, he's got Easter eggs for everybody.
It is literally what is it, the Crimson Decomposition or whatever it's called.
Crimson Glass
the-
Decomposition. Yeah.
Yeah, the first like few seconds of that is literally just, and I mean this not disparagingly, is just straight lifted from a King Crimson song.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's just, yeah. There it
That's
is.
fine. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, it is weird how there's 3 different bosses in this layer and only one of them is like worth talking about. Because again, the Mirror Reaper
I
is
mean,
a little bit
they're
of a joke.
all interesting. I just think that they're varying degrees of success. There's like an archetype of Ultra Kill boss that we all know works and is good, and that's like the fast guy with a melee weapon that you dance around and parry. Like,
Yeah.
and Hikita could keep making that boss over and over again, and I would be like soy jacking at my screen every time. Like, yo, it's so fun.
Holy shit.
So I actually really respect that he's not doing that, and that we're getting like weird shit like Garyon. But I have to just be honest and say that I just don't find it as fun.
Yeah, I have to wonder how much my opinion of the bosses is influenced by the fact that I'm still playing on Violence the first time around and then playing Brutal just because it's the highest difficulty and I just want to see if I can get through those levels. But yeah, like the Mirror Reaper fight to me doesn't feel any different regardless of which difficulty I'm playing on because he still dies in 30 seconds, if that.
Oh my god, it got buffed substantially too, and I'm like, it got buffed.
You're like, are you sure?
They like doubled his HP or something, and I'm like, okay.
Okay. And then I get to Garyon and I'm like, I don't know. I find it so frustrating that they're like, 85% of this guy you cannot do any damage to, and only like 10% of the total body can you do any like meaningful damage to, combined with the fact that it's like a Final Fantasy boss, where it's like, here's
That's
15
a good way to put it.
lasers on the battlefield and a bunch of circles that I can't see. It's one of those things where like
Right.
I hate visual vomit in games where I'm expected to be kind of precise in what I'm doing. And so when I fight him, I'm like, this is just annoying. Like I'm just not having a good time.
Yeah, I've heard. So I haven't played. At this point, for me, I'm saving Brutal as like a new game plus. It sounds like you sort of have a similar approach to it, but I just like don't really feel compelled to play it right now because I view the difficulty as being kind of incomplete. But as I understand it, that boss is substantially more annoying on Brutal than on Violent. I died a few times on like my first playthrough to him, and I don't think I've died since. Like in any, I first try P ranked, like etc. But I do still find it annoying. I just don't like. So We mentioned Fury earlier, but I need to know, I guess, before I go on, have you played that game?
No, I haven't. I was just kind of going with the punches.
That's fine. Do you care if I spoil it a little bit?
No, go ahead.
It's not like really a heavily story-based game, but there is one thing that like, I guess there's like one thing that even really can be spoiled, and it's that the true final boss is like a secret that is post-credits. It's pretty obvious when you're playing the game, but you just like the credits roll and then you walk into like this tower and then you get to like shoot up into space and fight the final boss. Final boss sucks though. It's like the one boss in the game that is straight up not good, and it's because your character like gets into a mech suit, and then which sounds awesome, I know, but for like the final fight, you basically have to relearn like an entire new control scheme. And it's designed similarly to other bosses in that like you're dodging a flurry of bullets and parrying them and whatnot and looking for your windows to deal damage back. But because you just move differently and control differently, it just feels terrible.
Yeah.
And I won't go so far as to say that Garyon feels terrible, but I view it through a similar lens where I'm like, this is ultra kill, man. I want to use all the movement that I've spent, 7.5 layers at this point building up and learning.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn how to fly up and down, right? That's my perspective on it, at least. I understand a lot of people have enjoyed it, and, I'm not going to sit here and really argue with them. It's just my personal feeling on it.
Yeah, it's kind of just what I tell people. I think that's kind of a good way to look at it, though, because it's kind of like the difference between Smash Melee and Smash Brothers Brawl. It's like, why am I so, like, floaty? Why am I sliding everywhere? Like, come on, please.
Yeah, it's funny how like and Brawl and Melee or Ultimate and Melee are like a really good example of this too. It's funny how like pretty much objectively tighter and better game design leads to just a so much less fun flow of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like basically like Melee was rough but accidentally perfect, and then they spent every subsequent game trying to like really refine the movement in a way that like did not need to happen.
Yeah. That's a reasonable.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison.
I don't know. That was just gonna, because I mean, again, it goes back to the rage game thing. I'm just like, it's one of those things where I shouldn't say it goes back to the rage game thing. The rage game thing is intentionally building the controls in a way that feels really obnoxious and obtuse to learn. This is one of those things where it's like I'm supposed to have tight controls as V1. The fact that I'm just falling forever and I'm like slow to get to and from things when 75% of the battlefield is covered with random AoE damage bullshit. I'm like, that's not cool, man. It's not cool.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. It's not my favorite.
Yeah. But
it's interesting. There was a point in time where I was like, way back, obviously, I was like, what is the point of the Hideous Mass? It's the only enemy in the game that has this like armored shell that you like have to avoid shooting. And now I'm like, there's way too many bosses in the game that are like armored. I don't
shells.
like this gimmick. We need to go back. But it's funny because back then I was like I still don't really like the Hideous Mass, at least the boss encounter. But I was like, wow, they've introduced this like weird armored mechanic, and then they don't use it at any of the other enemies. And since then it has come back like 4 times. So,
yeah, and I have had a lot of people tell me like their least favorite bosses as a whole are all of the ones that are super heavily armored. And I think I do technically agree, but it's not that I really dislike any of the fights except for Garyon. And I think while a good chunk of it is due to the armor, more of it has to do with the damage with the types of attacks he puts out. And again, the controls being a little bit more setting you up to just get shot in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not a boss archetype that I like really would see myself enjoying, like no matter how you slice it, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I overall respect that the game is like still content to like try new things instead of just fall back on what it like already has established it does really well. And like the final boss of the game is probably going to be one of those like more standard boss archetypes. The next prime boss is probably going to be like, we're not going to starve for like the Gabriel type boss or the Minos type boss.
Yeah. We just ran into a little bit of a hurdle
you basically
with the
fight, and you basically fight 2 Gabriels at once in the Slayer anyway, so.
Yeah, that right there, that little point struck me as your Doom 2016 versus Eternal comparison, where you're like, there's a couple of things that might feel a little bit prickly from my perspective, but I'm fine with them doing that rather than resting on what they know is good and that people like more.
Yeah.
In a
No,
way.
yeah, it's the same thing because I mean, I guess had assuming we chatted last year before that video went out, then it was also before Dark Ages came out.
Yeah.
But there was like a similar discourse with that game where people are like, well, this is like too new and different. I don't like this. Meanwhile, I'm just like, I think it's cool that like we're one of the oldest FPS franchises is still going and is like doing weird shit in the year 2025.
Yeah.
Like I'm fuck with that. And I liked Dark Ages. I don't know if I like it better than 2016 or Eternal, but the fact that I'm even thinking about if I do is like, it's a pretty good sign.
Yeah. It's still I shouldn't keep using the words worth talking about, but like I need to get around to playing it at some point because it looks cool. Even just the setting of the whole thing entices me enough to be like, okay, I have to figure out what you guys are doing here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that I need to make a video on that as well. At this point, I'm probably waiting for DLC, but I do think that like playing the DLC of Doom Eternal really like enhanced my like understanding of that game and like really put a lot of what I wanted to say about it into focus. So
yeah.
So I think maybe the fact that I didn't like jump the gun to release a Dark Ages video is probably good. The other thing I'm working on, and it's funny because it is like sort of a similar thing, is that because there's been this whole like social media resurgence of like the popularity of Dishonored, which is my personal favorite game of all time. So I'm like, people on Twitter, the worst website of all time, are talking about Dishonored. Hell yeah, I'm in. I'm just happy for this website to be about something that I care about for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it had reminded me that I really want to talk about those games. And I sort of have a similar feeling about Dishonored 2, where I'm like, okay, the first game is pretty much perfect. How do you follow up perfection? And it's like, I guess you just try shit. And like some of it doesn't work, but like some of it is like the coolest shit I've ever seen in a game. So I'm glad they tried shit and didn't just make the same game again.
Yeah, I think it's been described to me as like trying to beat the best at its own game. It's like it's much better for it to try to go down a different niche and see if it can also be perfect at doing something else. Or at least be really good at doing that other thing rather than inevitably falling short because it's trying to beat the better thing at its own game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think maybe like Dishonored 2 and Dishonored 1 are less different than Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. But like no one can really seem to agree on if Dishonored 1 or 2 is better, and I think that's healthy because they're just like they just excel at different things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of like that video. I'm sort of drafting it right now, but it's kind of going down a similar trajectory as the Doom one.
Well, that sounds exciting. As a person who's never really touched Dishonored in any way, but knows how enthralled you are with it, I'm curious to see.
You gotta. They're my favorite games of all time, but it's an easy. I feel like it's an easy sell because at this point they go on sale for so cheap to like just try it out and see if you fuck with it. But I think what's best about them is like, as an immersive sim, you can pretty much play them however you want. Like the game, the one like mistake that the game makes is telling you about the chaos system, which ultimately influences the ending that you get. When that pop-up comes up, just ignore it and play however the hell you want to play. Don't let it influence how you play. And that is like my number one piece of advice, because I think it's so much more important that you approach that game in a way that is fun to you than playing in the way that the game wants you to play. And if you get the bad ending, the game is like 10 hours long, maybe.
Yeah, just play it again.
It is a short game. Just play it again and get the good ending. Like, and maybe you'll find you do like playing through it, the stealthy way where you kill no one, or vice versa, you do enjoy playing through it the way where you just absolutely slaughter everyone.
Yeah.
But I think it's so much more important to just have a good first experience with the game, and then you're so much more likely to go back and play it the other way.
Yeah.
Or just a different way, because the game the game doesn't need to be played like fully like Ghost Clean Hands where you're never detected and you never kill anyone, or like where you go on an absolute rampage and kill everyone. I think the happy medium is like playing in such a way that you're like, okay, stealth first approach, but if I get detected, I'm just like hacking and slashing my way out. Like I think that is the game at its absolute best.
Yeah, I'll put it on my wish list then. Yeah, I mean, I'll take, like I've said, I'll take game recommendations from people whose opinions on games I appreciate and respect, and that Dishonored's going to be in the wish list along with what else is in my wish list right now? Let me see. Witchfire, Far Far West.
That game's good.
Yeah,
that game's also good.
There's a game that I've been told about called FPS Quest, where you're, I guess, a dungeon crawler guy, but you have a gun for some reason.
Is that the one where your actual frame rate dictates like your HP or something like that?
It says your FPS controls the speed of the world.
Or okay, yeah, something like that. But I read that tagline and I was like, that sounds annoying. That's going to be a pass for me. But maybe there's something there. I think not enough games use like, okay, this is not a released game.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'll stash it on my wish list. At least keep tabs on it. My wish list is like a wasteland. I wish list everything that I'm even remotely interested in, because if I want to come back to it, I like to just have one place that I can like be like, well, okay, what was that game again? And then I click through, and usually it takes me a while to find it because I've wish listed a lot of games at this point. But it's better than nothing. But yeah, I have way too many games on there. Just like to keep tabs, I guess, on things that I might be interested in.
No,
but yeah,
fair.
I was gonna say I don't think there's enough games that that kind of really, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. Like put interesting twists on things that you take for granted like that.
Yeah.
There's a game called, I think it's called Weird RPG. I'm not sure the game is actually any good, but the selling point, I think, is that there are weapons where like your microphone controls like how you attack and stuff like that. Or, at this point I'm just making stuff up, but like something where like you blink into your webcam to fire your weapon or something like that. Like it's got that type of gameplay.
Yeah, it looks like it's a
like
Vampire Survivors type, Soulstone Survivors, but with that sort of mechanic.
Yeah, some kind of like top-down action RPG type game, but that has these weapons that are just operated in unorthodox ways.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that makes for a good game, but it sure is interesting.
Yeah, I have one on my wish list called Audio Mech, which is bullet hell rhythm game, but each of your weapons is like, it functions depending on different elements of the song, like percussion, bass,
it's like your bass and treble or something.
Yeah, and I'm not sure.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
I think I might just be bad at these types of games because it looks really cool. It looks very what's the VR game with the swords the rhythm game with the Beat Saber.
Beat Saber?
Yeah, it has that sort of like really colorful neon sort of look. And I'm sure it's probably pretty cool. I'm just bad at these kinds of games, and so I played it and I was like, this is hard to keep track of.
I remember playing one back in the day called Audio Surf. Yeah, okay, that was the name of it. Where it's sort of like the opposite of what you're describing with that mech game, where you input a song like from your library, and then it creates like a track where you're like in the ship and you're just avoiding like the notes of the song as obstacles.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that there's an inversion of that where like you are fighting with your like I think that's almost more fun. But I have to agree that I am bad at these games. / they're just not really my cup of tea. And even if they were like any of these like use your own music type games for aforementioned reasons, I can't even imagine trying to stream them.
I pulled up Audio Surf on Steam. Steam's game recommendations similar to games you've played thing is so funny because I pulled up Audio Surf and it's like similar to games you've played before. Balatro. I don't think that's true. Based on what I'm seeing here, that doesn't seem very accurate.
Yeah, there's maybe like some angle by which you squint and it kind of looks visually slightly similar to Balatro, but yeah, even then, I'm not sure.
But no, Dishonored is now on the wish list because, Yeah, I
Yeah, I
probably
think
should
that
do
game
that.
goes on sale for like $2. So
Hell yeah.
next time there's a big sale, see, I think a lot of people got them for free on like Epic Games, which if you want to wade into that cesspool,
The only free
go
game that I've
go
gotten
right
from
ahead.
there that I've like paid attention. I haven't played it yet, but because I know Hogwarts Legacy is a good game, but also I don't want to support J.K. Rowling for being a punk. It
Yeah,
went on sale once on Epic Games. I was like, I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna install that.
yeah, I think I did that same thing, and there was a part of me that was like, am I even ever gonna play this? But now I got it, and at least I didn't have to pay money for it. So
Yeah,
I had
exactly.
the same exact. I had a few friends who, admittedly, were bigger Harry Potter fans than I ever was. I'm a millennial. I read the books, watched the movies, whatever. They're fine. Not like something that is like all consuming of my personality or anything. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I read them. But some of my friends, bigger fans than me, played the game, and the vibe for like the first week after it was out was like, it's great. And then I talked to them again a week later, and they were like, eh,
A great
not so great
consensus.
anymore. Yeah, like I feel like it's pretty common for those really big like AAA games to like have a great like first act and then just really fall off.
Yeah.
But it seems like the allure of like, wow, I'm walking around Hogwarts and whatever wore off, and they were like, okay, so I'm just like casting spells at the same troll for the fourth time or whatever.
It's like Wizard 101 if they 4K upscaled it. Like
yeah, AI generated Wizard
yeah,
101.
AI upscaled.
Dude, I have a friend. I didn't even know this game was still going, but I have a friend who plays Toontown.
Oh hell
Still.
yeah.
And she plays like a version of the game because the servers have gone offline, which is where I was like, how do you even play Toontown? But like
Yeah.
there are fan servers, and she still plays on them. She is the now wife of one of my best friends from high school. We were at their wedding, and her like bridesmaids were getting up like one after another giving speeches, and every single one of them was like, we met on Toontown originally. I was like, that's crazy. It's just like,
No
like,
way.
yeah, I've made friends over video games, but like, it's just such a opposite like experience of that same thing that it was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And one of them even talked about how they had like, obviously they were kids when they were originally playing Toontown, and they had both individually talked their parents into going on vacation to the same place and going to the same restaurant, where they then met up in person for the first time in the bathroom.
That's just
and I was like,
impressive
that's
that many
fucking
things
insane.
goes correctly.
That like, yeah, and they were probably 8 years old or whatever at the time putting that together. I was like, that is wild.
Yeah.
But kind of awesome at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Toontown very much exists in that era of like people should have been more wary about where their kids were going. Some of them were, some of them weren't. Obviously, these two did not have that problem.
Yeah, no.
But
That's like some expert level gaslighting of the parents, though. I kind of think that's awesome that they pulled that off. But yeah, there's definitely an element of like stranger danger there. You have no idea who the person on the other end is, but as a kid, you just like, especially a kid on the early internet, like you just don't have any understanding or appreciation of that.
yeah. But
I think the internet's gotten worse with that stuff, though. I don't know. Like, I just am like, the amount of people who are like advertising in their like profile that they're like under 18 or whatever. I'm like, man, I would just lie or just not say my age. Like, I don't. Why are we all of a sudden like advertising this? I just don't get it.
yeah, it's very
Different
bizarre.
times.
It's very, very strange.
Yeah, just readily offering so much information to strangers. Yeah, I mean, it's even translated into adulthood. Like, I'm pretty guarded with like personal details about myself when I stream, and even then, I'm like at some point, I'm like, well, there are parts of my life I just want to talk about, like where I live and stuff like that. Not like with so much detail, but just like the city and the state that I live in and stuff. But there are people who are just like taking it to an insane extreme of like just broadcasting every last detail about themselves. And it's usually people who grew up at least like, a generation below me. that I'm like, wow, okay, I guess they're really not teaching that to you in school anymore or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember internet safety really being taught very much where I was, like just in my
Yeah.
area. But it never, luckily, that never translated into me like doing all that. Like very little of my personal life ever shows up anywhere except for like major events that have happened to me, like getting engaged, moving out, getting a cat. Like
Right.
it's never, it like very rarely, it's like maybe sometimes the state that I live in because people like to make fun of it a lot for good reason. But it's never like, oh, in this valley that I live in, it's like that's not relevant in
Yeah.
any way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's about the same for me, I would say. I mean, like obviously since getting the dog has been a big part of like the stream, and just like, I just it's an important thing in my life, and what's the harm in sharing the dog? People love dogs.
Yeah.
Or yeah, obviously people like my wife has appeared on my stream and in my videos a few times, so it's not like that's a big secret or anything either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I haven't really faced any like issues with it, but I'm also like guarded enough to know that like I don't want to leave like an easy paper trail for people to figure things out about that could then come back to be, a problem for them. So
Yeah.
but it's just weird how many people don't view the internet that way is kind of all I'm getting at there.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where probably like this isn't me virtue signaling for anything to happen, but for a lot of those people, I imagine it takes one situation where they're like, oh, okay, so this has now come back to bite me because now information that I did not intend for it to be shared has been found because people were able to use the information that I did give them or whatever.
On the flip side, I think there's maybe just like an element of like kind of like digital nihilism about it, where people are like, well, someone's got all this information anyways, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do I care?
Yeah, it's
like it may as well come right from the horse's mouth,
Yeah.
Not that I necessarily agree with that, but like they kind of got a point.
Yeah.
Like that information is out there if someone wants it, but you don't have to make it so easy for people either.
Yeah, you don't have to like put yourself in a situation where it may be where you're essentially, because we all kind of understand that like your information is available to anybody who can find it, who tries hard enough to find it, but also you don't then want to put them in a position where they realize that they can, or that they like should have any reason to. Like if you just don't, it's like out of sight, out of mind. If I never bring up the state that I live in or the county that I'm in or whatever, no one's going to reasonably be like, well, now I have to figure out where this guy lives.
I have a funny story about this, actually. There was like I don't know how familiar you are or were, I guess, past tense with Rooster Teeth. They did like the Red versus Blue, and
I didn't really see a lot from
Ruby
them, but I am familiar with the
other one. But they had a lot of like just like internet shows and like their own website and stuff. They were like Achievement Hunter was like one of their things, and they picked up a channel though, and they've gone out of business at this point. But they had like a moment of internet significance. They had a channel called Cow Chop that they picked up, and I watched that channel, and they rented a house in, I believe, Denver, Colorado area together, and they would just like, it was just like, a content house, basically. Like, they would play games and stuff. They would like play pranks on each other and stuff, like stuff you definitely should not be doing in a like rental house.
Yeah.
But it was funny. So, and I was 19, 20 years old. So I thought it was awesome.
We didn't know any better.
But I was, I had finished like a college project, and usually my architecture projects involved me like pulling, multiple all-nighters in the studio to finish them. So I would routinely get like very sick after I shipped the project. And so I was like, I just had like a bad cold or the flu or something like a few days after finishing one of these projects, and absolutely nothing to spend my time on because I just cleaned my plate of this project. And so I was just watching a shitload of Cow Chop. And I was like, I wonder if I could find the house that they're in. And it took me all of like 30 minutes to locate the house. And I did. And I did nothing with this information. I just was like, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. I found it pretty easily. But then I felt some like guilt because a few weeks later, and again, it was not me. I just want to clarify, it was not me.
This is gonna be a Jay
But a
Schlatt
few
moment.
weeks later, they got doxxed and evicted by their landlord, and they had to essentially move out on a moment's notice. And then I believe it ultimately led to a more responsible era where they like rented a warehouse to do all this stuff and stuff like that. But momentarily, I felt so bad because I felt like I just put that out into the universe. Like, even though I didn't do anything with that information, I just felt like that I had put that out into the universe and caused that to happen.
Yeah, it's almost like you.
Anyways, I'm
primed
pretty good
somebody
at
else to do it.
GeoGuessr. That's the takeaway from that, is that I'm pretty good at GeoGuessr.
Can we start getting those channels that are just like DumpsterMan GeoGuessr moments that you would swear he's cheating in? Like, can we get those?
I did have one. It's funny because I feel like not a lot of people know this, but the early days of my stream, the first thing I did was I just played a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. But then I burned out hard on that game, but I kind of liked streaming, so I just wanted to keep doing it. Hence, Risk of Rain 2, other stuff. GeoGuessr was one of the big things I did during that time. Was I just was like, I'm bored and it's 2021 and there's still a pandemic going on and I'm like, don't go outside that much, so I'm just gonna play GeoGuessr. But there is a clip of me that I believe occurred with nobody in chat, where I have been plopped down on a random corner and I'm like, I think it's Brazil and it looks like kind of a big city. And I'm just going to plot my marker on Sao Paulo and see what happens. And it was not only correct that it was Sao Paulo, I had just arbitrarily put my my guess on the exact right street corner. And
That's
I'm not
insane.
kidding. I it's one thing to like have an insane guess in that game because you like use the information to figure out where you are. It's another thing entirely to have just clicked a random corner and been correct.
Yeah.
I was just like that. I actually can't believe that just happened.
Of all of the street corners in Sao Paulo, Brazil, which again, I can't even be sure I'm in there, Sao Paulo specifically, I landed on the street corner.
And it's a huge city.
Yeah.
And most of it is like fairly gridded, so all the corners on the map look about the same.
Yeah.
I was in. That's still probably the most insane thing that ever happened to me in GeoGuessr. Now, granted, over time I've gotten a lot better at it, and so now I have some good guesses that are like based on actual information. But at the time, I was like, I don't think it gets crazier than that.
Yeah.
And I was kind of right. I don't think I've had a more like just strange occurrence in GeoGuessr than that.
It's very impressive.
And it was all like a tree fell in the forest and no one was around to hear it. Although I've posted it on channels and stuff at this point, so some people have seen it. But
yeah, someday I'm expecting I get like Northern Lion highlights. It's gonna be like DumpsterMan GeoGuessr moments that'll make you go wow or something like.
Nah, I don't think I'm probably about as good at GeoGuessr as Northern Lion is, but I think not in like as interesting of a way as him. He just has a way about him. He could be really bad at GeoGuessr, and I'd probably still watch him play GeoGuessr.
Yeah, he's like he's the best way that I can describe it is he's almost like a person. It doesn't seem like he plays video games the way that he's just so like nonchalant about miscellaneous things like playing rage games, not having like any bouts of gamer rage, and just talking to somebody like an uncle at a barbecue or something. Like,
yeah, I think anymore his real gift is that he's gotten really good at selecting games that will like be good for him to talk over.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's so much of like a like he's just good at talking no matter what's going on, as that I think he will just reject games that he can't just yap over.
Yeah, it's like if I have to
which I think is fair.
Too much, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And there are like some games that I enjoy watching him play more than others, but like at some point you're tuning in for Northern Lion, not for whatever is on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. I just don't think I got it like that.
Not yet, he doesn't.
Yeah.
But I guess kind of speaking about your channel in general is I feel like every time I come on here, I'm always like, how do you describe what your channel is? Especially because you were kind of trying to figure out sort of how to make the kinds of videos that you were interested in and have them be focused on, I guess, larger topics that weren't down to like a specific game, using Annie Austin as a reference of tackling things that nobody in their right mind should ever be asking about.
Right.
But like,
Yeah.
with the couple of videos that you've made since the last conversation we had, namely what is White Knuckle, Game Awards, Indie Game Hate, Doom are the main ones I can think of. Like,
Yeah. I think that might literally be it.
I'll have to fact check it. But like what do you think is kind of the sort of niche that you're trying to build on your channel right now?
Well, if there's one that it's not, it's that indie game video. That was never meant to be anything more than just like a quick video between videos, but like it definitely left its bubble in a way that I didn't expect. And like people who had a bizarre bone to pick with that topic found the video, and like I don't know. It just I was like, damn, you guys care about this way more than I do. It was kind of my takeaway. But I guess, yeah, so that's probably the last time I'll ever do a video with that like kind of more negative slant, even though that was not really the goal. But again, it was one of those things where like people are gonna like hyper focus on the title and the thumbnail and, you know, a select few things you say in the video rather than like seeing the forest for the trees of what you're actually saying, like what your point is, and not, you know, the minutia of how you said it, or like, you know, what evidence you use to illustrate your point. Which again, had I had the foresight to know like the reach that video would have, I probably would have made it differently. But you know, hindsight is 2020, right? Like, yeah. So it is what it is. I thought I was just making a quick, like, funny video for my community to enjoy, and then it turned out to not be that way. But yeah, you know, just circumstantially since that Game Awards video, I've taken like a pretty big break. It wasn't the plan. I wanted to have videos ready to go in January. And then, you know, I got sick, and then, you know, just had a few other things going on in my life. We got the dog, and that was another thing. And like, now I'm just like looking back, and I'm like, almost 6 months has passed since I've released a video. In fact, it'll be just about 6 months like this week, which I never intended, but it has given me a lot of time to think about what I do really want to make, because, you know, I had scripts written and like even some stuff recorded, for videos that I ended up not finishing, or in the case that they were written, I ended up not recording them because I had just lost my voice for a long period of time due to sickness. But it let me think a lot about what I want to do. And like, weirdly, the Doom video is like kind of it. I just think what I want to do is like go in deep on a game, really dissect it, like talk about all the bits and pieces of it, and then just like, that's a video. And I'm going to do that with Dishonored. I'm going to do that with Ultra Kill, in the sense that like I've picked kind of a bizarre topic that I'm going to go like just as deep as I possibly can on, and make a whole video on that. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the long and short of it, I guess. I toyed around with just like, well, am I meant to be making these long videos? Am I meant to be making shorter videos? Am I meant to be you know, standing up in front of the green screen, which I have to admit, I think I am already planning on scaling back, because the main reason is just because it sucks to stand up in front of like lights and just like stand and hold my mic and talk for that long. So I think what I'm going to do, instead of like a whole video where I am on the screen talking, is like, I'm going to just do more like live action IRL bits as like bumpers, and then have like voiceover over like the rest of the video. I think it'll just be more manageable for me to record and edit that way. But you're asking more broadly. That's more of the technical side of things. I think my focus for this year is, and honestly, now that I think about it, I think this is what I said last year too. And I don't know that I would say that I was successful in this, but I think it's just to make videos that I think are fun and interesting, and that's it. That's like the bottom line of it. I when I first started gaining some traction on my main channel, there's this meme, and it's about like these tech startups that get like crazy valuations, that have like, you know, that are basically not worth anything, but for whatever reason, like they've been able to achieve these like, you know, $billion valuations.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a guy holding like his newborn baby. And then like in the next frame, he's holding his baby who's like 3 months old. And he's like, my baby doubled in size in 3 months. So at this rate, he'll weigh 3 trillion pounds by age 10 or whatever. Like, which is obviously just not how humans grow.
Yeah.
But when I got like my first 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, I was like, I will just grow like this forever. Like you look at the, whatever the stat tracking website is, and it shows like a little chart of like, well, here's how many subs you can expect to have by 2028. I'm just like, oh shit, I'll have 1 million subs by 2028. That's awesome. But like, obviously that's not real. It's just taking like a small data set and just extrapolating it over years. But I think it's easy to get caught up in that mindset of like, well, I gained 1,000 subs this month. I'm going to gain 1,000 subs next month. And then it's just never going to stop. And I'm going to like, and, I've been like getting out of that mindset for a while of like the no matter what I do next, I need to at least like grow a little bit, or I need to like be reaching a new audience. Like I've reached the limit of this ultra kill thing and I need to do like something else.
Yeah.
Anymore, I'm kind of just like, okay, I know enough to know that that's not true, that I'm not going to just like, you know, grow at a steady linear or like logarithmic rate. So what is stopping me from just making whatever videos I want to make? Like, what is really stopping me from just making like whatever precisely I want to make for nobody other than myself, and just hoping that someone else watches it and fucks with it?
Yeah.
And so I think that like that is finally like where I've settled. And the main channel, it's just like, it's tough because it's like I want to make these longer videos where I like talk for a long time and really unpack a subject, but I also just have like less time in my life to make the videos. So I'm kind of doing the second channel as like a supplementary basis where I make like shorter videos that are just whatever I want. If it's like edits from my stream, or I'm hoping within the next week, I'll say, to release a video talking about Dishonored and why, like, not essentially the exhaustive unpacking of those games that I want to do for later this year, but just like why they're kind of back in the conversation and what, like, if any potential future the games have, and as like a 15-minute video, like just real quick one.
Something that feels a little bit more reactionary is never like a good word, but it almost feels a bit more reactionary to a situation. Yeah, like
right. Maybe a good way to put it would be like the videos that I'm making or hope to make for my main channel are like stuff that I hope someone could watch in like 2 years and be like, yeah, this is awesome. I still get something out of this.
Yeah, more evergreen.
Versus like my second channel is more like, this is what I'm playing on my stream. This is what I'm thinking about a certain subject or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit freeing to have like kind of both of those separate balls rolling, because I feel like somewhere between the two channels encompasses the totality of what I want to do on YouTube. That's obviously a wide variance of things, but you know, that's kind of always been my channels, is like I just make whatever I want, and whether that be a short video that's just something stupid, or you know, an exhaustive like almost 2 hour long examination of the Doom games.
That's fair. Yeah, I can understand why that would actually be kind of difficult to like succinctly put into place, because it's one of those things that almost feels a bit more vibes based rather than like very concrete and set in like, you know, if you know a person who does this kind of thing, you can expect the same from DumpsterMan, just on different topics. Like it's a bit more vibes based.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the trouble too is that like in chasing some kind of like algorithmic success, which I wouldn't say I've ever been like really hardcore going after like, well, here's where I think the views are. Like, this is what I think will get me more views. But I have tried to like, I'll come up with like something that I just broadly want to talk about. And then I'll be like, okay, how do I package this into a video that I think people will like actually watch?
Yeah.
But it's hard not to feel like that has in the past like caused me to make videos that are different from maybe what I really wanted to make. where I've like put this spin on it where I'm like, my audience wants to see Ultra Kill. Like, how can I relate this to them, even if the topic is not related to it at all? And I think that like the past year or two of me doing this has been just like ripping the Band-Aid off of like, well, okay, it's going to hurt for a while, but I need to just make whatever I want and not like apologize for it or over explain it really.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And over the past year or so, life has definitely gotten in the way of like making maybe as many videos as I want to, but not in a bad way necessarily. I do, in addition to YouTube, like graphic design freelancing, and I just got busy with that stuff for a while. And now like this year, aside from being sick, which sucked, like just having like a new dog has been a lot of fun. And like, so I just have like, kind of enjoying just freedom in my life and like sort of, and honestly, it just being a lot more offline is part of it.
Yeah.
It all started with like last year. I don't really do New Year's resolutions, but I was like, I was just laying in bed, like just scrolling on my phone. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing this? Like, what is this? How is this serving my life? And so my sort of New Year's resolution was like, the phone does not enter the bedroom anymore.
Oh yeah.
So I've just been reading.
Yeah.
I've just been reading at night. And it's been the best. Like, I don't know that I've ever done something like just one thing that had a more like positive impact on my mental health. But I think it has overall like led to me just like, feeling a little bit less like I'm constantly embroiled in like, how's my video doing? What are people talking about online that I should be like thinking about and responding to? But I think that, or I hope at least, that the result will be creating videos from a more authentic place, I guess. I think that all like art and creative pursuits are like a lot better if you just like live your life. Honestly, it sounds weird. Touch grass. I'm gonna just say the term. Like if you touch grass, like great writers always were like, Hemingway lived in like a million different places, and like I don't know. I just think that like you are probably creating at your best when you're not just like so all consumed by the thing. And it wasn't necessarily my intention. I was more just like, I want to just break the nightly doom scroll, so I'm going to just leave my phone in the kitchen rather than in my bedroom. But it worked, and it has had other positive effects as well. So
yeah, definitely an interesting thing. That
I don't know.
I'm trying to analyze this for myself as time goes on and just see if I can, because again, I get the general vibe of what exactly is going on here. It's just a matter of like, I think it's just tough for me to personally peg what this whole thing comes down to on account of I have 4 videos for reference and they're all wildly different, and that's fine. But it's just something I'm thinking about. Yeah,
you're talking about my videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every one of those was in its own way like a result of like just thing I want to make right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been on my mind too of like, how do I synthesize like the varying successes of and responses to these handful of videos that I made last year, and what can I take away from that? And I've had now a lot of time to think about it, way more time than I usually have between main channel uploads to think about and synthesize that information. And I still don't really know necessarily what I'm taking away from that specifically, but I do think I have like a pretty clear direction of like what I want to do.
Yeah.
And the truth is too that like, I won't like speak for you necessarily, but like just given you and I are sort of similar, just in the same like general bracket of like size of like online presence, like I'm not doing this as like my sole income, like,
right.
At some point I'm like, what am I getting out of treating this like a job other than just misery? Right. Like I can't will my ad revenue to grow.
Yeah.
Like I could go and make a different type of content that would be more conducive to making more money off of YouTube or streaming or whatever. But if I ask myself, do I really want to do that? The answer is overwhelmingly no. So I'm like, why treat it like a job? Like, why not just have fun with it? And like, maybe the results will be better naturally as a result. Like, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be working. And again, as you've mentioned, it has given you plenty of time to really sit and marinate on what exactly the point is of all this and what exactly you are trying to accomplish with this. So it's, as I say every time, after all this time, it'll be interesting to see how this affects what we'll be seeing.
And the break from uploading was really just circumstantial. I had intended to continue just keeping the ball rolling, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, everything anymore. I'm sort of like, everything could be sort of a blessing in disguise. And if it's given me more like clarity on what I want to do moving forward, then I have no real reason to see it as a bad thing necessarily. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I'm, historically bad, as our past 2 podcasts have proven, at summing up what I do in one line. So there you go. There was like a 20-minute dissection of like everything I'm thinking about.
Yeah, if people are ever like, if anybody ever asks you again, just like have this little portion on standby and be like, go watch this portion and maybe this will make more sense.
I don't remember exactly what he said, but the host of Quad Damage had he had written up just a couple line introduction of me, being that it was my first time on the podcast.
Yeah.
And like, he kind of nailed it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, that might be the best, like, just quick summary of what I do that you were better at putting into words than I was.
Seems like the guy does a lot of
it is
in-depth research on your channel.
Yeah. He's awesome. And like, especially wrangling so many guests. The show, just to be clear, has like 1 main host and 2 other hosts, and I believe they all are doing work behind the scenes. So I don't want to attribute all the work to one person necessarily. But yeah, like I'm definitely impressed at just wrangling all the guests and like devs and stuff like that. And then always seeming to have a little extra background knowledge on all of them too is like more than I'm capable of, honestly.
That's fair.
At least at the moment.
Yeah, not yet. Or I don't know why I said that. That was a weird way to put it. This might be a quicker thing. Why do you think that the Elden Ring video that you made did such crazy numbers? Like,
dude, I don't know. That's one that like is really hard to unpack because it was such a flash in the pan. I mean, I even made another Elden Ring video after that like got buried. Like it went nowhere.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like me having one successful Elden Ring video then pushed me into like this Elden Ring algorithm. I think I just hit at the right time. Like people were hyped about the DLC that was coming out fairly soon. And yeah, I think I just hit at like a good time where like there was probably not a lot of people doing Elden Ring content, but then there was like this sudden influx of like people who were like looking for that sort of thing because they were getting back into the game for the DLC or just were hyped for the DLC or whatever. And then that caused a lot of people to be fed my video. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Yeah, it's just being one.
I think it's a good video. Like I'm not gonna sit here and like shit on my own video. I mean, I think it was pretty good, but there wasn't like, I didn't like approach that video in a special way that I can like look back and be like, that choice really paid dividends. I think it was just right place, right time.
Yeah, really the only thing I can think of that might have attributed to its success, and it's only because I watch content that is not Elden Ring based, but is challenge based in games that I like watching, is like, it was technically a challenge video in a sense. And sure, there's probably a whole host of Elden Ring creators who are already doing other miscellaneous challenge related things. Like you said, probably not at this time leading right up to the DLC. But it does make me wonder if like the hype for the DLC, the fact that you happen to have a video out right before then, and it looked like it was a challenge related video, probably got people interested in like, oh, what is this guy doing to make Elden Ring interesting? right before the DLC drops.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's another good way to put it. Yeah, I right. I don't know because it's funny that stream or I guess series of streams. Obviously, it takes longer than one stream to beat a full run of Elden Ring. Well, at least it does when you're me
When
and
you're like
like
a
not
regular gamer.
very good at the game. Was months before I actually got into Premiere and was like, okay, I'm gonna make a video on this now. I believe the premise of the video was kind of like that chat is going to choose my build and I'm going to play through the whole game and I'm going to level up my character to the point where I'm ready for the DLC. But the DLC hadn't even been announced at that point, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I was just expecting a DLC was on the horizon. And then I finished the run, a few months go by, DLC gets announced and I'm like, okay, I'm sitting on this footage, like I should really make a video out of that. And so I kind of then could knowingly lean into the like DLC, like, oh, it's like I'm making my build for the DLC. So, you know, maybe people were like stumbled on the video looking for like DLC builds or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very hard to say. But yeah, just right place, right time is all I can think of. I think it hit in like that sweet spot of length where like people are willing to like watch a video that's like an hour or maybe a little bit longer. But it wasn't like, you know, audaciously long.
Yeah, not a 4 hour long.
I think more so in
thing.
like that Elden Ring space, it's like it's hard to edit a playthrough of Elden Ring down into under an hour because the game is just so long and so big.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of Elden Ring content. My most watched streamer for the past few years has been Lil Aggie, who does all manner of Souls challenges, really, but he is perhaps best well known for at this point for Elden Ring. Briefly held the world record in the first like week that the game was out for the like any percent speed run before people figured that you could like look at a door wrong and then you would fly across the map to the final boss and he would fall out and die and you beat the game in like 6 seconds. And then he was like, okay, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, fuck that noise.
But what he does now, a lot of, you know, it's mainly just creative challenge runs, which is what kind of got the ball rolling for me. And like, I'm obviously a lot worse at Elden Ring, but I'm like, how can I make like a playthrough interesting for myself and for chat? And that was kind of like where that idea came from. But what he has done a lot of is like, and it's now become like a whole like proper competitive way to engage with Elden Ring is Elden Ring bingo.
Oh yeah.
So you have like two people playing Elden Ring simultaneously with a bingo board of, you know, different objectives that you can complete in the game. And then you just try and get the most squares or get a bingo first. And it's fascinating. And they've been doing it now for years. And it's just such a unique take on how the game could be played that requires its own like skill set and like knowledge of the game. Like there's items that you have to go get in bingo that like you're almost never getting in a regular playthrough and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Bosses you're fighting at like the corners of the world. And yeah, that like, though I've never done anything like that, it definitely has gotten like the gears turning in my mind of like just how like different from the intended way a game can be played and still be interesting, high stakes, competitive, like high skill. So yeah, I thought briefly about doing like a ultra kill bingo, but I just couldn't make it work because the game is so linear.
Yeah, I don't even know what you would do in that circumstance. My friends did a bingo race twice on Dark Souls 3 a couple years ago when we had a different channel that we were running, and a lot more interesting than I think ultra kill would be.
It works way better in Souls games, and it even works better in Elden Ring, being that it is just like pure open world than Dark Souls. But there, you still have some like branching paths in Dark Souls 3 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my thought with Ultra Kill was that it would pretty much just always come down to like whoever was the faster player, which I think is kind of uninteresting. I know that like the point of like a lockout bingo is still for it to be like somewhat skill expressive. But I think it would just be a shame if the winner of like a hypothetical ultra kill bingo just like came down always to whoever was like the faster player, you know?
Yeah, because then it's just a speedrun race. You're not even like the bingo.
Yeah, you may as well ignore the bingo. Yeah, and like I thought about like you could do like there's obviously secret levels and stuff that require like unique conditions to unlock, and like would you be starting on a fresh save? And like I just couldn't come up with an idea that that would be very interesting. And then even still, I'm like not so good at ultra kill that I probably could even be like competitive in my own like hypothetical bingo game, or only against like people who are at a similar skill level to me. But then my worry was that if you try to like take it to like the next level competitively, that it would, like you said, just kind of turn into a speedrun race.
Yeah.
And I think other people have tried it, honestly. This is another thing with like reason why I've slowed down on making ultra kill content is that it's like it went from there being like not enough people making content on the game for like how like big of an audience there is to like way too many people making content on the game for how relatively small the audience is. Like, and it feels like overnight, where now I'm like, I have an idea for a video and I just quick search it and like 3 people have already done it. And this was something that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
I was going to do a challenge. I guess, I don't even know if you'd call it a challenge run, but like an exploration of what the fewest number of kills you could beat the game in without, you know, reasonably cheating. And you know, I even like routed it out and I started drafting a script on it. But then I found that there was already a good and highly viewed video on it, a similar subject. It wasn't quite the same angle as me. It wasn't quite the same way that I approached it, but it was similar enough that it's like in my mind, no one's going to want to watch the second video on the subject, right?
Yeah.
Like there's already a video that has, you know, 500,000 views or whatever. So I just didn't make it, but I did find it interesting and I did spend some time exploring it. But yeah, that was kind of like eye-opening to me, an eye-opening moment of like how much the landscape had changed. Like whereas I used to have an idea of something to do with the game and I was like reasonably the first person to think of it because there just wasn't that many people doing it. Or if I wasn't the first person to do it, then like I knew most of the other people making content on the game and could just feel like, hey, have you already done this?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think the only interesting thing that came out of the how few kills do you need to beat ultra kill thing was that I saw the 2 big videos that came out of it. One of them had a kill count of like 200 and the other one had a kill count of like 60. And I think the one that was lower obviously came out after the one that was higher. And the funniest thing that came out of that was that like near the beginning of the video, I could have sworn the creator was like, yeah, this guy's method was bad and shit. And he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm like, what the hell is the tone of this video? What? It was strange.
Let me see. Here we go. I could see what number I came up with. Now, my own constraints were that I was not doing any like out of bounds clipping, which I think both of the people in question were.
Certainly,
my own like personal constraint was just that like I feel like the game is designed such that you stay in bounds. So how many enemies can you reasonably skip while staying in the bounds of like the way the game is intended to be played? And the number I came up with was like 400 something. But I think it's way more interesting to like you look at let's see, is it 1-2? The Crusher level.
Yeah, I think it's
or 1-3. 1-3.
Oh, wait, what?
Or yeah, sorry. Yo, you're right.
I get that mixed around a lot too.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Yeah, it's 0-2. And like I'm sure in that level you can just clip out of bounds and go right to the exit and kill nobody. But I found it much more interesting to stay in bounds because there are several times where enemies are in crushers, and in order for them to not die and get added to the kill count, you have to save them yourself. And I found that to be a much more interesting way to engage with the premise of that challenge than, and no offense to the creators of the other videos, I did watch them both, and I won't say which. I thought one of them was a lot better than the other one, but they were both interesting in their own right. Like it was interesting to me seeing how different people had approached the same problem.
Yeah.
But it ultimately led to me to the conclusion that my video was not worth making. But yeah, it would have been another different approach, but I just was like, do I really want to be like the second or arguably third person to make this video? Given the time that I would invest, and no, the answer was no. So
yeah, it is actually a decent point to say, like, to point out that like the amount of creators versus consumers on Ultra Kill content has shifted drastically over the last year or two. I've found that if there's any random Ultra Kill related things that I would want to make videos on, sticking within the niche of my channel, it's really just going to be like a bunch of like, meme shitpost type stuff. Like I have where's my document of video ideas? Like in the document ideas that I have here, one of them was literally just how good would all of the Ultra Kill songs be as alarms in the morning, as kind of like a joke.
Wait, I feel like this is something we talked about. Is it not?
It
like,
might be.
I don't know if the idea was like directly from one of our conversations, or if it was like maybe just incepted from one of our conversations, but I do remember talking about a comment from someone who used complete and utter destruction of the senses as their alarm. And maybe I wasn't talking about that with you, but it is something that I distinctly remember.
Yeah, complete and utter destruction of the senses has had horrible things done to it that it was never intended to be used for, and that's fine. That's kind of the joke of a lot of this stuff. Matter of fact, the next video idea that I came up with stemmed from a Reddit post that I saw, which was, I can't tell if it was a shit post or not, but whatever. It was a Reddit post on the r/ultrakill subreddit, and it's the meme of the handsome guy saying something to a woman and she's like fine with it, and then the same less attractive coworker saying the same thing to her and she calls HR. And it's on top is the handsome man saying, and the meme is breakcore mixed with alarm sounds showing war without reason. And then underneath is complete utter destruction of the senses, breakcore mixed with alarm sounds, and the woman is calling HR. And so I wanted to make a video called like the war without reason versus complete and utter destruction of the senses situation is crazy.
Yeah, and you could literally just use that as the thumbnail, and I think it would work.
Yeah.
The things that I see people in the like broader Ultra Kill content creation ecosystem using as thumbnails boggles my mind. I won't call this out specifically, but someone sent me a thumbnail that I was like, I would never click on this in my life. And it was something related to Ultra Kill. And then like I looked and it had like over 10K views, and I was like, whatever, man.
Yeah, we're very aware that the Ultra Kill community is full of some very interesting people, is the best way to put it, honestly, like for good and for bad.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing is like sometimes I just feel like a little bit like out of touch. I mean, I'm 30. I'm 31. I keep saying I'm 30. I turned 31 already this year.
You're still back in the past, I guess.
I'm like, I don't really. I think Herb Messiah is the not same exact age, but very close to the same age as me. But other than that, I'm like, everyone in this community is younger.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everyone is younger. I'm like, I just feel sometimes like maybe I'm not the right person to be making the kind of content that some of those people want to watch, which is fine. I used to view that in a more negative light. Anymore, I'm just like, you're good. You got this channel and this channel. Like, you don't need me.
Yeah.
I think maybe some people like that I am maybe like a little bit more. I don't know. I don't want to like put myself on a pedestal above anyone else, but just like a little bit more measured of a voice in the community when I do have things that I want to say. But yeah, I don't know. I've kind of distanced myself for that reason, like being that, the situation I talked about where I make a video on a topic that I think is interesting and people couldn't even watch the first 30 seconds to understand that the title and thumbnail were, a joke, or at least not meant to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, is this really like the people I want to be making content for? Is just kind of what I'm asking myself when stuff like that happens. But
yeah, no, that's reasonable.
And the thumbnail thing is a whole other, like, just the things I see people titling and thumbnailing videos. I'm like, okay, people are clicking on this, which means there's something to it, but I would never make a thumbnail like that. So maybe there's something I'm not getting here. But yeah,
there's definitely some point to which like the thumbnails especially are like, it kind of just attracts people based on a sense of humor or whatever. Like,
yeah, they're like almost inside jokes.
Yeah, like when I'm looking at the thumbnails that you've made for like Ultra Kill related things, this thumbnail is not for an Ultra Kill video. It was a Q&A video, the 25K with the Discord message like that. I think that's funny because it's reserved, but everybody knows the joke that you're making without having to like, you know, make it weird and overly like, odd.
Yeah, and that was like, I mean, that was a video where I was like, I'm gonna just like clickbait. Basically, I was like, I give myself a little clickbait as a treat.
Yeah.
And I went all in on it. But yeah, it is almost sort of like that same type of thing. But yeah, it's more what I'm talking about is like when you see the thumbnail that like you can't even like discern what any like part of it is, but it just looks vaguely like there's something Ultra Kill going on.
Yeah.
Where it's like it looks like they browsed like the top of the week on like r/Ultra Kill and just like dragged them all into a Photoshop file and like put them on a.
Yeah.
Like for some reason people are clicking on that, but you know.
It's because it's more Ultra Kill content is really what I can think of.
It is crazy how much like that is the only like sales pitch you really need at a certain point. Maybe not to get like, you know, a few 100,000 views to 1 million views, but like to get like 10, 15K views, sure. That's all you need, I think, is just to make a video on Ultra Kill. It doesn't even have to be particularly good, is sometimes my assessment.
Yeah, it's, yeah. I don't think I'm that bothered by it because I'm in the same boat as you where like Ultra Kill is not the main audience of people that I advertise to. They just happen to be the people who show up the most when I upload a video about their game.
Yeah. Well, and you have an interesting like, I don't know, umbrella of ideas that you're operating under. I feel like I'm constantly kind of like, what's my next thing? Like, you know.
Yeah, you always kind of find yourself on the back foot a little bit. You're like, oh shit, somebody beat me to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I don't want to ride the negativity train, but I did have this really interesting thing that came up to me the other day, which is that I found that I get really annoyed by a lot of those give me 4 minutes and 11 seconds of your time and I'll like something change your life. I hate those kinds of videos, really. I was, it made me wonder what kinds of video concepts or video titles or video ideas you see on your feed, and they just make you mad.
Yeah, that's interesting because you say that and I'm like, okay, that rings a bell, but I'm not really seeing those very often. Here we go. YouTube does serve me your videos. I was actually just about to say I didn't even know you had a new one out today, and I was like, this is a problem because the algorithm has stopped serving me things that I actually want to see. But then I refresh, and I don't know if it's like it just knows that I'm talking to you or what, but now I see your video.
It has doubled in size since we started this recording, I will say.
Oh, good. Nice.
So that might be why it's serving.
It's getting pushed out, I guess. Yeah. No, I'm glad that it's actually getting fed to me though, because you talked about another video you made, which was one that we had talked about in DMs about the why is it hard to like get into new hobbies, right? So something to that tune. And I remember thinking when you said that sounds interesting and I would like to watch that. But then I realized that I had never that had never even popped up in my so I'll have to go watch that one as well.
And that reason would be
to know that I'm at least getting
that one's on my second channel, so that might also explain why.
Oh yeah, I may not have even realized you had a second channel.
Yeah.
So
it's exclusively for those kinds of smaller things, like stuff that I'm like, this is just interesting things for me to talk about that have nothing to do with music, but evidently people still like watching them.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if there's I actually have like I go through periods of time where I have better and worse like YouTube recommended, and I feel like right now it's pretty good. I don't have too many complaints.
Well, that's nice.
I will tell you something that annoys me broadly, though, or I don't even know about broadly. It's specifically with Twitch streams when people are like, their go live notification is like, whoever gifted you a tier 1 subscription. And like, I know that's not real, but like it pisses me off every time. Like, especially when it's people that I like know are doing that. I'm like, I would unfollow you if you weren't like a friend of mine.
Yeah.
God damn, just write something creative.
Yeah, I think
I can't even imagine that works either. Like, because that's not, if you do get gifted a sub in Twitch, that's not how the notification is fed to you. So I'm surprised that anyone's falling for that.
Yeah, I think some of my favorite Twitch notifications that I get, one of them is from an artist that I like, and hers is just like the name of the streamer has sent you one message, and sometimes she'll change the number just because I think that's kind of the shtick that she likes.
Now that falls under the umbrella of shit that annoys me. But
fair point. Enough. That's reasonable. I think it's that I just pay so little attention to Twitch in general that most of the time I see them and I'm just like, that's whatever. And also like I wouldn't really consider myself friends with these people, but like I've known them since like before they started streaming or whatever. So like it's endearing to me personally, but I can definitely understand how that's like annoying because it can be perceived as like a Twitch version of clickbait in a way. I like the ones that are just like insane and don't make any sense. Like I don't stream basically ever, but my go live notification, I think it's oh, you're just in time. We were about to kill you with hammers.
That's good. I always try to come up with stuff like that, but then push comes to shove and it's my usual start time and I'm about to go live and I'm just like, yeah, what game am I playing? All right, tonight we're playing and then just go with that.
Yeah.
But I guess the other thing that pisses me off, and I'm realizing it now as I'm scrolling my YouTube homepage, is I don't really watch shorts, so I guess I can sort of see how this happened. But YouTube only like it insists, despite me not watching shorts, on putting the like shorts bar relatively high in my recommended. But then because it has like no info on what kinds of shorts I watch, because I just don't, it feeds me my own shorts. Like the only thing you could possibly want to watch is what we've got info on, which is that you sometimes watch your own shorts to just make sure they look okay. And so it just only recommends me my own shorts, which is kind of annoying. I guess I would just rather that bar go away. Can I hide it? Show fewer shorts. Hey, there we go. You can do that.
I have a different version of YouTube on my phone that just completely gets rid of the shorts bar entirely. So I'm like, oh, this is convenient.
That's nice, yeah.
But it is weird how like on my computer and on my laptop, sometimes it'll feed me shorts that I personally made from 3 years ago on the alternate channel that I don't work on anymore. That have like 430 views. And I'm like, what? Why are you showing me this?
Yeah, the ones it picks to show me are weird too. Like it'll sometimes show like my most recent one, but then the one it loves to show me is I guess it's not from super long ago, but from at this point over a year ago, of like the Leviathan rework from the Ultra Revamp update. And that short didn't even do particularly well compared to some of my other Ultra Kill shorts. So why that one is being recommended to me is like
a little bit questionable.
I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know if there's really any like trends that particularly annoy me. Like, I mean, I talked about the Ultra Kill stuff, but that stuff doesn't annoy me as much as it just confuses me. Like, it makes me realize that there's some like disconnect from the people watching that stuff to me.
Yeah, fair. And I think,
but it's more,
I don't know. I feel like the only reason that these types of videos get to me is because it's like I watch one video that I intend on using as like a learning experience, or like, oh, this is a video showing me like how to better incorporate like creating music into your life or whatever, like how to feel more creative without feeling like you have to force it or whatever. And then like every fifth video is just like, give me 15 give me 9 minutes and I'll help you avoid the mistake I had made for 30 years. I'm like, this is exhausting. Please like, I think maybe my problem is less with the type of video itself and more with the fact that YouTube really likes to push things in the same realm as stuff that I already watch. But if I watch one video that's outside of the realm of what I normally watch, YouTube is like disproportionately showing me that kind of stuff compared to the stuff that I actually like to watch on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe just like a meta within a niche that you watch. That I can definitely understand that. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what you're describing, but I just thought of this one that I have not like seen so much myself, but have seen other people posting, is when people are like, you're wrong about blank, and then it's like some like niche thing that I have no opinion about.
Yeah.
Like you're wrong about the, some bizarre thing you never heard of. And I'm like, how can I be wrong about that? I've never
What was that?
maybe that is like just enough rage bait that people just click on it and are like, what the hell are you talking about?
Probably.
But,
I was gonna say, what was that one video that your friend Jimberly Wilbus made with the thumbnail "You're stupid" and let me tell you why or whatever?
oh yeah, that one was about rage bait, I think, and he just made the entire video look like rage bait. I'm not sure how successful that strategy was, but I did like that video, and I told him that I liked that video. Yeah, I was kind of gunning for a similar thing with that like indie games video, but it really just resulted in it reaching like the opposite of the audience that I wanted to reach with the video. So
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't try that strategy again, probably.
Makes sense to me. It's these next two questions mostly came from me re-listening to our whole podcast from the last time where you had introduced me to Annie Austin and how he may have potentially influenced the way that you would consider making videos or topics or styles or whatever. And you did briefly name drop a potential idea that you had, which was like, how feasible are the urban designs of these video game cities?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever something that you like paid enough mind to decide to move forward with
Yeah.
and brainstorm on.
Yeah, no, I did. I even can't recall if it was before or after that conversation, but I did like kind of draft and doodle on that quite a bit. It just hasn't materialized into something that I feel confident like making into a video yet. But I think I would like to. I mean, it's one of those things where like maybe the next era of me on YouTube is like finding unorthodox ways to talk about things that are like important to me. Like finding a way to talk about music through the lens of Ultra Kill, or finding the way how to talk about urbanism, which is something that I care about, through the lens of like video game city deconstructions and critiques.
Yeah.
So I definitely would say that is not off the table. It's not something that I'm actively working on currently, but it is like, it's an idea that has been kicking around a lot, and even more so now that I'm working on videos on Dishonored, which contain a few of my favorite cities in all of gaming, that I think are just really well and interestingly designed. But to even look at like bigger, like, Night City from Cyberpunk and Los Santos from Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, there kind of is actually an Annie Austin video that has been made since then that is similar. Or various ones. Like there was one where he looked at the road signs and road markings in Grand Theft Auto 5 to see if they were like up to
Like
code traffic
for
code.
California.
Yeah. Which I was like, this is awesome, and like spiritually a very me video, because like I'm not a huge Grand Theft Auto fan, but I am a big Annie Austin fan, and I like the way he like looks at and thinks about games. And then like the confluence of that with like the hundreds of mind-numbing hours that I spent studying code books in college and like for my job, my previous job, that are weirdly like melding into one thing that I find like uniquely fascinating to me. But yeah, I do think that is something that is like on the like further out list, like to make eventually. That just maybe needs a little more time in the oven.
Fair. It actually reminded me of this. This just has become the Annie Austin discussion at this point, because I've just been like going on miscellaneous binges of videos that he's been doing, and he did one on like the uncanny mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 or whatever. And there was a point where he was like halfway through the video, he was like, some people may look at this sort of thing and try and use it as this big, like they might use it as a point to say that because of all these little minute details that don't exactly match up to how you would expect them to be is ruining their experience of the game or whatever. He's like, if I wanted to catch people's attention more, I could probably say that all of these little individual uncanny things would affect the way that I play the game. but that would be being very dishonest. Like, it really doesn't matter. I just think it's cool to
Yeah.
look at. And like, I left a comment on that video where I basically said he kind of, like, in a way, he what he's doing feels like what a lot of us do, just without the spending hundreds of hours meticulously looking
Right.
at all of it to figure out all of like the actual literal details of it. Like, some of us will be like, "Oh, that's interesting that there's 15 of the same book printed in this area," or, "That's interesting that these road markings on the airports in GTA are here, but they're not here. You'd think they'd be more consistent or whatever." He just takes that and is like, "I have spent the better half of 3 weeks looking deeply into this so that I can give you a much more fleshed out breakdown
Yeah.
of what I found and what I found fascination in."
Well, and usually too, the takeaway is just that it's cool that like someone put any thought to that at all, let alone that it's like sometimes very accurate.
Yeah.
I think to contrast this, there is a pretty well-known creator. Do you know Croby Cat, the guy who makes the like why this video game sucks, and then it's just like a compilation of like bugs, or like why this remake is so much worse than the original, and then it's just like a side-by-side graphic comparison.
Interesting. No, I don't think I've heard of this.
I think
person.
I think the videos are terrible if you can't tell. I mean, sometimes he has a point, but the degree to which the videos have been used as like gospel to talk about like certain topics is ridiculous to me, because he's not actually saying anything.
Yeah.
He's just presenting like clips of a game in a certain light that painted in a certain way. I almost view Any Austin as like the polar opposite of that, where like the takeaway that I have from most of his videos is just like, man, it's crazy that any game ever exists at all. Like, it's really cool that like, I'm like I'm cynical about Grand Theft Auto. I used to love Grand Theft Auto, but like I kind of have grown to hate Grand Theft Auto because of like Rockstar and like what they've done with Grand Theft Auto online and stuff like that. But like, I watch a video like that and I'm like, yeah, it is kind of cool that someone thought about the road markings and the signs. And I don't know, it's definitely it's easy to be cynical when you spend enough time on the internet talking about this stuff, that it's just like refreshing to see someone who approaches it from like a decidedly non-cynical point of view.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the the way that a lot of people describe what he does is finding unremarkable things and then remarking on them for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the exact way that I phrased this in the comment was I remember seeing a YouTube short a while ago about somebody interviewing him and basically asking him what he thinks makes his video special. And what he essentially said was like, "To be honest with you, I don't know. And I think I'd rather live the rest of my life not knowing that, because if I figure out what it is, I don't know that I'll be able to strike the same magic when I do these videos."
Yeah.
But the very specific point where he was like not being pretentious about how all these little details are in the game and how it's funny that they're in there, but they don't affect his way to play the game. Like I think it's cool. And I said, he's not an overly pretentious YouTuber. He's barely any more special than any of us, which is great. He just spends time looking at places that developers didn't necessarily plan on having people look at. He's no different than we are when we spend 15 minutes in one specific area in a Call of Duty mission, just being fascinated by all the little details that you otherwise aren't expected to stop and look at. The only thing he does is spend an uncomfortable amount of time taking those fascinations to an extreme that none of us are keen to taking them to ourselves.
Yeah, that's well put. I thought about this same kind of exact thing as I just wrapped up a playthrough of Dishonored 1, and I went straight into Dishonored 2. And the games were made 4 years apart, I think. 2012 and 2016 sounds about right. But like the graphical leap between the two games is genuinely impressive. Like it's the type of leap you wouldn't see in 4 years these days. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And the second game just looks like that much better than the first game. And like I said earlier, I regard the games as like being pretty equal in like quality and like each one doing things a little bit better than the other. But what Dishonored 2 does that's really impressive to me is how detailed the interiors are. Because like as the levels can be approached in a pretty free-form manner, like sometimes you can jump up into a building and into the window of an apartment. But then like in Dishonored 1, it's not to say they weren't detailed, but like they weren't overly detailed. In Dishonored 2 though, I was like, oh my god, like, you know, I'm looking at things on the wall that are just like posters. Like, and I'm like, someone made this poster and was like, put it on the wall, and like probably 1% of people have actually looked at it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it feels like a thing that exists in this universe. And I spent like a few minutes like just being really impressed by like a random person's apartment in Karnaka. I just was like holy shit, like this feels like a real place where someone lives. Like, and they got trinkets and stuff that like have no reason, like gameplay reason to exist, but that are like the shelves are just stacked with them. It might be one of, I don't want to say like the best, but like for me, one of the most impressively detailed games that I've seen, like at least in that realm. But yeah, it is nice to be reminded to sometimes just take a moment to appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, it's the reward that people put in, knowing that only a handful of people who will look at it, but those who do will be very impressed that, or very intrigued by the fact that it is in there.
Yeah, and it made me all the more sad that like I probably don't have to scroll Twitter for very long to see someone justifying replacing that type of like, you know, kind of quote unquote throwaway artwork with AI in game development. Whereas, yeah, Dishonored stands as in my mind at least, even being 10 years, Dishonored 2 being 10 years old now, and even the first game this applies to as well, being a pretty shining example of like the value in like actually putting time into like the random paintings and posters and stuff on the wall and not just farming those out to AI. Yeah.
I only half made the joke about you being a podcast guest frequently, like as a joke. It just so happened that you happened to be on this show shortly before you're on this show. But quite a long time ago, when I had asked you about your general opinions on or never mind, that was a different tangent actually. We've gone on so many tangents throughout these hours.
Oh, that's all right.
And in DMs. But at some point I think I was just asking you like what other kinds of content you're going to be working on and other miscellaneous things that you're working on, because I find it to be fascinating.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You had mentioned that at some point you wanted to look into doing your own sort of talk show podcast type thing with people, where you have a couple questions for them about like some of the like maybe a one or two influential games for them that really sort of shaped their gameplay experience, either growing up or just in the modern day, and like how that affects them and how that's affected the way that they do things on the internet or in their personal life or whatever. I know that it hasn't gone super far right now on account of, as it's been made pretty obvious, you are a very busy person who has a lot of miscellaneous things that come up in your life. But I'm just curious, like what exactly your plans kind of for that thing were and what the future for that might look like, even if it's not coming out to people's podcast inboxes next week or whatever.
Yeah, so the idea was, and I specifically asked you about this because I was just trying to think of who I know who does like podcast type stuff. And I just wanted to get input on the idea, I guess. But yeah, the idea, it was basically like, I don't want to call it like last meals, but with video games. It kind of is. Where the idea was, instead of just talking about the person or their interests or like their favorite or most formative game, that we just sit down and play it. Because I'm like, it not only sounds like a great way for me to discover more games, because I have this weird blind spot for like early console games is how I'll describe it. Like, because my first console that I owned was a PlayStation 2. And I played some PlayStation 1 games on it, but I never myself owned a PlayStation 1. Played a little N64 at a friend's house, but never owned it. So I feel like I was kind of late to a lot of the games that other people my age, or even a little bit younger than me in some cases, find to be like the most substantial and formative to their lives. So I thought it would be interesting to bring on content creator friends, developer friends, stuff like that, to come on and pick one game, or maybe like, you know, a small collection of games that were formative to them, boot them up in the emulator and like actually sit and play them together. And I think just giving people something that they're passionate about to talk about always like tends to always get interesting conversations flowing. Now, the reason I haven't necessarily gone much farther than just the idea is, one, there are some pretty substantial technical limitations with this. One, like, how do we play a game to get, some of these games are going to be single player, but how do we play a game in a way that, like, I can get someone, like, I can ring someone up on a Discord call and we can find a way to play, like, a game that was, made well before the advent of, like, any semblance of online multiplayer, quote unquote, together. Like, that's an issue that has to be solved on, like, a case by case basis. And then second is just time, like you said, but they kind of go hand in hand of, like, I feel like there are hurdles for me to figure out with this thing. And I don't have the time in my life to do it, but, that's not to say the idea is scrapped necessarily. I would, in a different time when I have more time, I would like to still pursue that idea. And at this point, now that I'm saying it out loud, if someone hears this and wants to steal it, be my guest. But should that not come to pass, it is something I would still like to entertain. But I think I need to even, like, figure out how to make main channel videos again, like, before I'm even thinking about, like, starting a whole series that, like, requires me to be even somewhat regular with planning and whatnot. So
yeah, definitely does get into that point of like, main channel, second channel, VOD's channel, and then this show. And it's like, you are one person. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and luckily, the reason I never bring up the VOD channel is because it's just one click export from Twitch. Like, I don't want to sit and claim I'm doing a whole lot for that.
I didn't even know that they could do that. That's impressive. That's nice.
Yeah, well, I'll do a little bit. I isolate a segment and then I just export it as is. I don't do any more editing than that. Yeah. And then I make a thumbnail. But making thumbnails is fun. That's like making thumbnails is genuinely like my content creator version of, like, smoking a cigarette. Like, no, I'm serious. I'll be working on something else and I'll be like, time to take a break. And then I open Photoshop and make a thumbnail. That's my bread and butter, though. I've been using Photoshop since I was, I think, in middle school. Was when I took my first Photoshop class.
Golly.
And I've been using it ever since. And I use it for, like, my other, I shouldn't say quote unquote job, because the graphic design stuff I do is more of a job than YouTube is, but I'm wearing the content creator hat right now. So I gotta specify that that's the other job.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is like, it's like the easy, quick, and, like, kind of fun thing that I can do, like, as for, like, a 5-minute break from something else.
Yeah.
But it's like taking a smoke break.
Yeah, you leave your phone in the other room and you're like, if I need a 5-minute hit of dopamine, I'm going to pull up Photoshop and put laser eyes on everything or whatever.
Right, yeah, just make a quick, stupid thumbnail for a VOD. So, yeah, the VOD channel requires almost no work. But, yeah, anymore, the, like, sort of concept I'm pursuing with the second channel requires a bit more work. And then, yeah, the main channel videos, we all know how those have ballooned into behemoths that I can't seem to wrangle. But hopefully we'll get there this year.
Fair. Yeah, again, as I keep saying, it'll be interesting to see how things change. And it'll be interesting to see if that kind of thing comes to fruition. And invariably, because you are the podcast guest that I seem to just be talking to the most now, because, again, stuff keeps happening all the time that randomly prompts one of us to message the other one. Invariably, in a couple of months, if I see other updates and other stuff coming from you, I'll be like, I wonder if he ever ended up getting around to dedicating some brain power to figuring out that whole show thing he wanted to do. Just for my own curiosity, the other thing, really.
Yeah, no, and you will be one of the first people I update if I do get back to pursuing that seriously. The other thing that I'm, like, constantly kicking around is, like, doing game development to some degree. And that's another thing that I'm like, I hate to even sit here and be like, well, everything could be content. Like, you can make videos on it, you can stream it. Like, maybe not necessarily my intention with, like, developing a game, but then there's, like, the whole question of, like, if I make a game, like, how do I want to market it? Do I want to market it? Can it be tied in some way to what I'm already doing? And yeah, that's another thing where it's like, I'm always taking little, like, moments to learn things, but the, like, first advice any, like, developer will give you is, like, if you want to make games, you make, like, a little game first.
Yeah.
And I've tried doing that and I just can't. Like, I should say I can. Like I have the know-how to do it. I just get so bored. Like that, it's like make Pong, make Tetris, make Space Invaders. And I'm just like I don't want to do that.
Yeah. If you don't want to do it,
so
you're not necessarily in a position to continue to try and learn how to do other things.
Yeah. That's the big struggle is like I think I could sit and do that. Like I think at this point I have the base of knowledge that I could make those things. But what I really want to do is like I find a project that both feels manageable and that I'm excited about. And I do think I've kind of honed in on something like that. It's way too early to say, and I've made the mistake before of like saying I'm working on a game and then it's talking about what it is and then like being like, wait a second, no, I'm not. So I don't think I want to reveal more than that, but I do have another one that I'm like getting closer to working on in like a more serious manner. So hopefully that happens this year.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny.
Or happens steps towards that happening, more seriously this year. I'm not under any delusion that I'm going to release something seriously this year, but having like gotten a ball like more formally rolling down the proverbial hill on that.
Yeah, I doubt that there's much you can really over-explain or oversell about what you've done, because I remember at the beginning of the last episode, I was like, here's DumpsterMan, he's a YouTube content creator, Twitch streamer, and in air quotes, game dev, and you were like, don't put me on the spot like that, dude.
Yeah, and here I am a year later with nothing to show for it.
Well, it happens.
I guess not nothing, I always adding more tools to the toolkit every time I open Godot or, whatever graphical software I'm working in, Blender. I did remake all of my like stream overlays and stuff in Blender, which was kind of a fun moment because cool. That was like I have practical skills in Blender now, even though they're somewhat limited. Actually, for one of my upcoming videos, I think I'm gonna do a little like 3D render thing, but I won't reveal what or why. Just that is something that I am cooking.
I'll try getting into Godot and like for like a couple of probably like a couple of days over the course of a week, but I found that the thing that I was more interested in was just figuring out how the code for a game works, which is very strange. I think I'm more interested in it from like a computer science perspective than I am from like like an art directive or anything else that can really go into it.
That's funny because that would mean that on this subject, you and I couldn't be more opposite because I'm just like, the thing that I'm like want to do the most and feel like I'm the best at, naturally because of what my degree is in and what my career was in, is level design. And I'm like, I think I would be already an awesome level designer, but I'm like, I don't have a game to design levels for.
Like, how do I make these pieces work? I have.
Yeah. So then I'm like, I gotta figure out how to like code a character controller and like to, as even like a bare minimum to start putting boxes into my like 3-dimensional space. And
yeah.
So the rest comes as a necessity to the like kind of artistic and creative pursuit of building a little world.
Yeah. But okay, this is kind of maybe sort of an offshoot of the thing I had asked about earlier about a channel niche, and you've already revealed a decent amount of like miscellaneous things that you plan on talking about and tackling in both of your channels that you have. But like, I don't know, is there anything else that's like more concrete that you think people would be interested to hear that you're working on, if you're comfortable sharing that information? Or is the stuff that you've got planning right now that we've talked about here kind of the meat of what we can expect?
Let me look at my notes, because I've got, I'm always like drafting stuff up. Is there anything that like is far enough along that I'm like, this is probably going to be a video that I that is like worth sharing? I've been I don't know if you've ever heard of a game called Zero Ranger.
No, I can't say that
it's like a very kind of deceptively simple arcadey shoot 'em up game.
Okay.
Like it, even like when you boot it up, it looks like it could be on an arcade cabinet, like straight up. And it never once really breaks from like the shtick that it is like some sort of lost arcade game. But then like the more you dig into it, the more like, without spoiling anything, the game is like not exactly what it seems at face value. And I am just like fascinated by it. And I'm at a point where I don't even know like how much content there is out there on the game. Just that I feel like when I finish this game, I'm going to have something to say about it. It's been a nice game for me to like plug away at in like 30-minute intervals, and I probably would have maybe played more or even been done with the game by now had my controller not broke, unrelated to the game, but midway through me like playing through this game. But yeah, it's just one of those games where I feel like I'm almost definitely going to have something to say about it. And it's not like a massive game. So I feel like that could maybe be like a smaller video that would be a little easier to make. I think I said I maybe want to do like a revisit to White Knuckle, because the game has grown substantially since the last video that I made. And I'm almost wondering if I could wrap that up into like because there's been a lot of other like interesting sort of climbing focused games that have come out. I'm almost wondering if I could kind of do just like a straight up part 2 to that video and be like, here's what's going on with White Knuckle, as well as some other weird climbing games that you should check out. Maybe that's a little too ambitious of a topic and that I should refine it into just one or the other, but I don't know. I haven't like gotten really anywhere with that other than just like, I think I want to make that. I feel like I had like one more thing that I was kind of noodling. Oh, have you ever heard of the game Shadows of Doubt?
That game sounds more familiar. It's very likely that a friend has brought it to my attention, but
It's like an immersive sim, like a detective simulator, but that is set in a procedurally generated city. So like the locations and the names and everything are different every single time.
Interesting.
The game is flawed and a bit contentious in some ways, but it's really fascinating because I've never seen another game attempt or even close to attempt what Shadows of Doubt is doing. And I kind of just like have complicated, mostly positive, but complicated feelings on the game that I want to unpack in a video. Probably this year, but I would say it's on like the lowest of priorities out of what I've listed.
This is a very strange looking game, very dreary, very moody, very dramatic.
Yeah. It's got a lot of sauce for what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting in that I think it was maybe too ambitious for like to really ever kind of coalesce into like a super cohesive whole. And I feel like there are a lot of people who sort of misunderstand what that game is even like trying to be as a result. And I kind of want to unpack that. I find it like a really interesting game more than it's like than that it's like a really great game or it's like really good at one particular thing. I just feel like it's really interesting in that I've never played anything quite like it before. Positive or negative, and I kind of just want to unpack that.
Yeah, again, it seems like a decent through line for a lot of these things now is kind of like, here's this really cool thing. It is still a little bit thorny, but
yeah,
you know, again, they don't, very few studios, very few games have the scientific like gall to attempt to do this sort of thing.
I feel like it's funny to use this terminology for someone who is like just talking about video games, but like on that like Doom video, people called me a fence sitter because I guess like you have to pick a side between like Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal.
Losers, all of them.
And I was like, I don't know, man. I like them both. But I do feel like there is like a part of me where when people go into these like, you know, critique type videos, they really want you to like break down why something sucks. And I feel like the more I dig into something, the more I'm actually quite understanding and forgiving of the things that I view as like being mistakes or missteps.
Yeah.
And I come away almost being more endeared to them. And I feel like for a lot of people that rubs them wrong because they want me to just lay in and be like, this thing fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's
like that's, I don't know. It's like I don't know. I just don't really, I'm not into like the outrage culture thing. Like playing video games is something that I get to do, you know? Like,
yeah,
I'm happy to be like, and I'm picking to play and talk about games that I like, you know? Even though I had some things that I didn't like as much about a game like Doom Eternal. I played through it multiple times just to form like a really coherent opinion on it. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't like the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's almost one of those things where it's kind of like, because I think about like the way that I might speak, not even really negatively, but just critiquing the way that I feel about certain things, certain sounds, certain soundtracks, certain songs in a game or whatever. And in very, 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 very infrequently does it come off as like a fuck this thing sucks. That like in a way that doesn't leave room for people to try and like defend it. If there's something I don't
Mhm.
like, I'm like, here's here's the vibes I'm getting from this thing. Here's sort of what I'm imagining happened to give me the sort of reaction that I'm getting out of this, and comparing it to other things of its ilk. I generally find that it might fall a little bit flat. And what's funny is that despite how reserved of a reaction I give to that kind of thing, people will come into the comments and they'll be like, "I'm actually a really big fan of this thing," almost expecting that like I'm gonna tear them down for it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, if you don't like it, like, or if you do like it, I understand why you like it. I'm just
Right.
explaining to you why I'm not a big fan of it. So I find it interesting that it's a very different, uh, a very different output from the both of us, and then a very different response from the people who perceive that output a certain way.
Yeah, I'm throwing hands in the comments. I don't care. No, I'm kidding. I used to be like that. Like even over like minor disagreements. Like I not that I was necessarily fighting with people, but that I like to if I really felt like I disagreed with them, that I like to poke and prod why.
Mhm.
I stopped doing that though because like people are just not capable of having like a rational disagreement. Like it would just always, no matter what I said, it would always devolve into like something that I was not intending for it to be.
Yeah, it happens.
So anymore, I only pick fights with the people who are being like genuinely unreasonable, or just like I said before, just did not watch the video.
Yeah.
In which case, my response is just, "Hey, watch
You
the
should
video,
watch the video.
dumbass." Yeah.
You should give them what I've decided to start doing in the face of people like that. I don't think I've had to do this yet, but if I do ever have to do this, if somebody like wildly misinterprets something that I say or leaves a comment without reading or watching the part of the video where I basically have a response to what they're saying, just give them a timestamp and that's it.
Yeah. Or yeah, sometimes it's like a follow-up question of like someone will like timestamp something and be like, "Here's why I disagree with this," and then I'll just be like, "Can you tell me again what I said at the timestamp?" Like,
Yeah, it's
just
like, are you sure you
sometimes that's
watched that
enough for
part?
them to like, yeah, for them to realize that maybe I wasn't actually saying what they thought I was saying. Can you please reiterate to me what I said at the timestamp? Like, it's usually enough for them to be like, "Oh, my bad."
Yeah, people might just literally like mess up the sentence structure or just hear something that they, just whatever they thought they heard as opposed to what was actually being said or whatever.
I had my first experience with someone who was like definitely writing their comments with ChatGPT. And that was weird.
Brutal.
I was like, it's so low stakes. It's the YouTube comments. I'm like, are you really like running this through a AI to like, and I don't even there. I won't like specifically call out what this person said, but there was some like content in there, like some things that they quote unquote said, obviously that ChatGPT said, mistranslated or what have you. That I'm pretty sure they did not mean to say, or they meant to say something similar but different. And I was kind of just like, I don't think this is sending the message you wanted to be sending.
It's like
it was basically someone who said something like that I would consider to be like pretty alarmingly insane. And my response was just like, imagine saying this to someone's face, like someone on the street.
Yeah.
And they interpreted that as me telling them to like go outside, which I kind of was.
If you're using AI to write your YouTube comments, you do need to go outside, for the record.
Yeah.
But
their response was, "I go outside once a month." And I was like, "That's not enough, brother." I was like, "It's better than nothing, but that's not enough."
Yeah, that's better. That's better than nothing. But under no normal circumstances does a person who only goes out and who goes outside once a month should think that like it's unfortunate that person may be under the disillusion that that people would consider that to be enough for that to be like a viable counter argument.
That was the moment that I realized they were using ChatGPT to either write or maybe translate their comments, because I was like, this doesn't even make sense. And then I just deleted the comment thread because I was like, this is not worth my time.
Fair.
But yeah, that was a low that I didn't realize like people were stooping to, was writing comments with ChatGPT. I was like, that's wild.
Yeah, again, what low stakes just to have all of your quote unquote work undone as well.
Yeah. Whatever, man.
But
so-called free thinkers.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I guess.
Anyways, I blinked and we hit 3 hours again. Do you have
sure
any more questions for me? I don't have a hard stop, but the dog does need to go to bed.
No, that's fine. Yeah, this should hopefully also be kind of quick. I'm just going to loop back around to ask about video game soundtrack stuff again. Because again, as a person who has like pretty, I think, reasonable opinions on how on video game soundtracks as a whole, like, just are there some that you have really strong feelings about, either in the positive or negative direction? Because that is a thing that I like to ask people, and I don't often get I don't really get many responses from them, because a lot of the people that I talk to don't pay enough attention to it to usually have strong feelings about them.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like top of mind, but Dishonored, I feel like I never really fully appreciated like the atmosphere that was being set in those games, and the soundtracks were done by Daniel Licht, I think is his name, and he was otherwise most notably the composer for the score of the TV show Dexter. And I'd never made that connection that was the same guy, but the atmosphere that the score of Dishonored sets is just like remarkably fitting for those games, and I think it has a lot to do too with like the actual like in-game like choreography of like when the combat music rises, or when like the you've been detected music rises, and like it all has like kind of a very nice like flow to it that really sets like the stage for what you're doing, and like what amount of tension you're meant to be feeling. And I just was like taking a mental note of that, because I was doing kind of a more critical playthrough of the games in order to write a video on them. But it really struck me just how well that had been done in that game in particular. It's not like a soundtrack I would go and like sit and listen to, but I think in the context of the game, it works really, really well. As far as like, I don't know if there's any that I have like a negative opinion on. I feel like the most I've ever been like, I don't fuck with this in a video game, is it usually turns out to be someone who, like usually an indie developer who is making a game on a shoestring budget and has just put stock music in the game. It almost always ends up being that way when I'm like, I'm not really messing with the vibe that this is setting. It's almost always the case that it's stock music, and then I feel a little bit bad for like for not liking it, but it is important still that you get the vibe right, even if you're using stock music. Yeah, I mean, there are soundtracks that are like just there, like that I don't feel the need to like really dig into more, but like as long as they sort of fit, I don't really feel any type of way about them.
Yeah, like you don't often find yourself in a situation where you're listening to something and the soundtrack's playing and you're like, I need this to shut the hell up. Like, turn it off.
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, there's some like roguelike games where like you just hear the same song over and over again so much that you eventually just turn it off and play your own music or whatever. I feel like Balatro, and I know you've made a whole video on this, so but wait, you did make that video, right? I remember we talked about it.
Yeah, if there was anybody who would have made it,
I was gonna say there's no. I was like, I feel like I have a memory of watching this video, so there's no way I hallucinated that.
You're like, where did it go?
Yeah, well, I just sometimes it was like we were talking about earlier, where like we have this sit down and we chat for a few hours about like video ideas and stuff, and some of them get made and some of them don't.
Yeah.
So it was like I was like wondering if I was remembering talking about you making such a video, or if you actually made such a video and I watched it. Anyways, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Balatro does an amazing job of like, despite being like a 20-40 second loop, like never getting old somehow.
I think it's like I think each loop is 5 minutes.
Really? I mean, you might be correct, but
I have the music.
The music is not terribly dynamic, is all I'll say. Not in a bad way, but just the way that it's utilized in the game really like almost distracts from the repetitive nature of it.
Yeah.
and I never got sick of that music personally, and I had hundreds of hours in that game.
Each song
Slay
is
the
4
Spire,
minutes
same
longer.
thing. Interesting. I wonder if the in-game loops are the same, or if they're like if they're 4 minutes longer, if they're shorter but have like louder, quieter.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know,
basically.
the full 4 minute loop does play, but I will say there are a lot of parts that sound similar with only like one change being made, so it's easy to hear that and think that it loops on itself a lot more frequently than it actually does.
Yeah. Not me saying I don't like it, by the way. I do like it quite a lot, but I just it is like repetitive in nature, but in such a way that doesn't really ever get old, which I think is really impressive.
Because again, they hit the vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just the overall like sound design of that game, I think in general is owed a lot to like how good that game is, including the music, but not limited to it. And yeah, I think like my favorite video game soundtrack in terms of like how much I enjoy it in the context of the games, as well as like would sit down and listen to outside of the games. It's just like any From Software Souls game. It's so good.
Fair.
Like it's just genuinely like incredible music that just happens to be composed for a game. Like it's so impressive. Oh, I really enjoyed the Expedition 33 soundtrack as well.
It's like a movie score at that point is what it feels like.
Yeah. That game, I think it's like impossible to talk about that game online anymore, but like I liked it. I had a good time with it. It wasn't my favorite game that I played last year, but I did enjoy it. But I think the music is the one thing that most people agree is really fucking good.
Yeah.
So
that's a good answer.
I can't think of too many that are like jumping out as negative. I just think that like games, and maybe you could view this almost as being like a little bit anti-art, but like if I boot up a game and I find the soundtrack to be really grating, I just turn it off. And then I don't think about it again. It really, if you're evaluating a game to that level, at some point the music is important. But the fact that you can just turn it off in a way that you can't just turn off the score of a movie or something is kind of unique to the medium. But in such a way that I don't really have any soundtrack that I'm like, I hate it because I just can't fucking escape it. Because that almost is never the case.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those are some legitimately very good answers. And the thing that I like about the fact that you and I play that we play a lot of different subtypes of games is that there's a lot of these that I've never really heard, but I know like your answer is like just correct. Like, maybe it's just because of the spheres I operate in. I know that the things that I like are also things that are shared among people that I hear opinions about. I'm sure maybe the same thing applies to you if you're around a lot of Expedition 33 from soft title Dishonored type conversations online. Maybe you hear the same types of things, but I think it's fascinating nonetheless.
Yeah, I would say those are all like, I mean, I don't know. Dishonored is just fresh in my mind. I'm not sure that's like necessarily a soundtrack that like has been often discussed online, but for sure, like FromSoft games and Expedition 33. I mean, I think the like amount of just like awards that those games have won speak for themselves, especially for things like music and sound design. The composer or whatever, the main artist of the Expedition 33 soundtrack, they just found him on SoundCloud. And then like, I'm pretty sure they just gave him like a blank check to just do whatever the fuck he wants because the soundtrack is crazy. Like it has its like kind of more like orchestral moments and like motifs for different characters and stuff. But then like out of nowhere, it'll just like bust out into this like banging synth part. And like, I don't know. It's crazy. I can't believe it exists, but like, I just, whatever they did, like finding this guy on SoundCloud, just giving him a blank check to do whatever he wants. Hell yeah, it worked.
It is impressive how many game developers and people who are responsible for finding people to work on their game, they find the musicians just like in the fucking like middle of nowhere. Like just like, this is just,
it's either that or it's like in Dishonored's case, it's like, yeah, it's the guy who fucking scored Dexter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean the FromSoft's composers, like one of my favorites who had composed most of my favorite themes from their past few games, Yuka Kitamura. just left the company, but that was like had made me aware that like they are employees of From Software. Like they're like composing some of the most beautiful neoclassical music I've heard, and they work for a video game company. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Diabolical even.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should actually do it. I also did not expect this to go over 3 hours again. We got like halfway through and I was like, we're making great time, relatively speaking. And then something happened. I don't know what, but something happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I had that same thought where we were about like an hour and a half or 2 hours in, and I was like, yeah, not bad. And then I blinked and I was like, oh, it's over 3 hours now. Either way, yeah, it was a good chat. That's either a sign that we need to do this more often, or that when we do this, we just need to budget more time for it.
Yeah, we're both busy people. I don't know. We'll figure out some internal scheduling stuff off camera, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose.
I like doing this once a year, little catch up, especially because we could follow up on things that we talked about last year and stuff. So yeah,
but yeah, I guess
that was a good time.
Yeah, it was great. I guess again, this is the third year you've been here. People probably already know where to find you. But in case I randomly bring in new people, you randomly bring in new people on this show, where can the people find you? What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically I make videos on YouTube on a channel called DumpsterMan. Haven't lately, but hopefully, assuming you're not listening to this in like 6 months and my channel has been dead for a year, then hopefully you can find whatever I have coming out on that channel, and or DumpsterMan 2, which is my second channel, which has had a fair few uploads this year, and will continue to see more because I'm just making smaller videos there. I don't know where else I am. Twitch, I guess, where I am Dumpsterman TV. I used to be Dumpsterman TTV. I dropped one of the T's because I think it's lame to like have the website that you're on as part of your tag. But the guy who owns Dumpsterman still owns it, even though he hasn't logged in like 6 years. Probably more now. It was 6 last I checked, and that was probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's been 8 years since this guy's logged in, if time tracks. Yeah.
So. But yeah, DumpsterMan TV on Twitch. I stream at this point more or less when I can, which is more often than you would think, I guess, but less often than it used to be. And yeah, bad takes on Twitter sometimes, I guess. If you're on that website, I don't blame you if you're not. I don't really use Blue Sky anymore. So yeah, there you go. I think that encompasses about everywhere people will find me active.
Yeah, okay. Fair point. Yeah, if you're looking for me, I am not active on a lot of the places I used to be active on. Don't really do much Twitch on account of my internet is bad, I guess. I'm not sure what happened. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, not technically SoundCloud. Why did I say SoundCloud? What else do I have? Obviously, YouTube's the big thing.
You said Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify's good, is where you can find all my music. The podcast is already here. DJ Cereal Sauce on YouTube. 2 Cereal 2 Sauce, all one word, for the second channel.
That's a great title.
I stole it from Uncle Dane, notorious Team Fortress 2 YouTuber. I agree, it's a great name. But yeah, I think that's probably everything. There's probably like you have a beacons and I have a card, so I could just paste both of those in the description. You can just click that and then just explore to your heart's content. So
I kind of need to. Yeah, you should feel free to do that, but I kind of need to get on a different one of those because I wanted to do something with beacons recently and it didn't work unless I paid for a like subscription or some shit. And I'm like, all you do is host like 4 of my links, so I'm gonna do that I'm gonna take that business elsewhere.
All right, so yeah, I guess it'll be card for me, it'll be beacons for DumpsterMan until he invariably changes it. And if the link doesn't work, then go to YouTube and he has a link there too. So
I won't deactivate it or anything, but I think I might just replace it with a link tree or something, one of those classic ones.
Makes sense to me.
I don't even know why I chose beacons. I think I just saw someone else had it. Anyways, this could be a whole other
That's
tangent.
A reasonable enough reason to move away from them. But yeah, that's where you can find everybody, and we're out of here, folks.
Well, peace.